The rebirth starts with confessing to the school beauty. Is it Zhuangju dreaming of a butterfly, or the butterfly dreaming of Zhuangju? The dream, as ethereal and illusory as a reflection in a mirror, gradually shattered. Liu Beiran felt a splitting headache, as if countless threads were crisscrossing, continuously tearing at his soul. It hurts so much. I shouldn't have drunk so much. But that female executive's legs were so white, if only I could chat with her about life. Come on, wake up. If I'm late for work again, that stupid boss will scold me. Liu Beiran kept imagining, trying to move his limbs to break free from the dream's shackles. He remembered last night, accompanying a few clients for drinks, throwing caution to the wind for the sake of business, drinking until the world was spinning and the sun and moon disappeared. Why haven't I woken up yet? Am I going to die from drinking? Damn, I need to delete the 50 gigabytes of wife-related stuff from my cloud drive first. Suddenly, a mysterious force pushed the shattered dream forward, and a faint light appeared in the dim, chaotic space. He opened his eyes groggily, his tired eyes revealing the weariness from a sleepless night. A slight buzzing sound echoed in his brain, as though he had just experienced a hangover or perhaps something like a long, deep sleep. Where am I? He found himself in a familiar classroom. His classmates were all absorbed in their own studies, the classroom quiet as could be, not even a pin drop could be heard. On the wall next to the blackboard, there was a small wooden sign that read, 59 days until the college entrance exam. Looking out the window, he saw a small garden. The noon sunlight shone on the marble pavement, and a gentle breeze rustled the lush plants, the sound of leaves rustling gently filling the air. Everything here feels so familiar. Liu Beiran sighed inwardly, feeling that even if this were a dream, it felt so real he could even see the dust particles floating in the air. Cough, cough, class monitor. A sweet, soft voice entered his ears, pulling Liu Beiran's thoughts back to reality. He turned his head and saw the girl who had reminded him. She had her hair tied in a high ponytail, with willow-shaped eyebrows and bright eyes, her flawless face radiating youthful energy without any makeup. Xu Nianqing, I can't believe I see you here. I thought you went abroad, and would never meet again. Liu Beiran said with a smile. Don't talk, look ahead. Xu Nianqing said quietly, showing a hint of nervousness. Liu Beiran was unbothered and laughed. Hey, what's there to be afraid of in a dream? Do you believe that I'll have oldly give you a model youth certificate later? Suddenly, a strong sense of danger surged in his heart. Liu Beiran turned around, and a small white dot appeared in his sight, rapidly enlarging in a parabolic arc. Holy shit! A concealed weapon. Before he could react, Liu Beiran felt a sharp pain in his forehead. He had clearly been hit. Why does it hurt in a dream? That was Liu Beiran's thought at that moment. He looked up at the podium, where the homeroom teacher, Li Huai, was glaring at him with a fierce expression. Liu Beiran, go to the back. At that moment, Liu Beiran was completely stunned. Even though he was reluctant to believe it, all the signs pointed to the fact that everything he was experiencing was not a dream, but a real event. The time was 2012, just 2 months before his college entrance exam. I've been reborn. Liu Beiran had read plenty of web novels in his previous life, so he was familiar with terms like time travel and rebirth, but he had never imagined it would happen to him. Ding ling ling, the bell for the end of class rang. After giving a few instructions, the homeroom teacher left the classroom, and Liu Beiran returned to his seat. He glanced at his deskmate again, a strange, indescribable feeling welling up in his heart. Hello, I'm Xu Nianqing. I hope we can get along well in the future. Xu Nianqing smiled. Oh, okay. Liu Beiran replied. This question should be solved this way, like this. She demonstrated the problem. Okay, I understand. Once we're in college, you can't be so quiet anymore, or you won't be able to get a girlfriend. Okay. Memories from his youth gradually became clearer, like an ancient wishing bottle buried under sand, now emerging from the wind, revealing the youthful years that had never rusted. Noticing Liu Beiran's gaze, Xu Nianqing seemed a little shy and whispered, I pushed you just now because you were asleep, and the homeroom teacher came into the classroom. I know, thanks. Liu Beiran smiled. Xu Nianqing was puzzled by Liu Beiran's behavior and words. Her impression of him, as someone who had sat next to him for 3 years, was that he was a quiet, introverted person. He never participated in class activities, and when others tried to talk to him, he would respond with brief answers, as though speaking an extra word would kill him. But what had just happened completely exceeded her understanding of this deskmate. Beiran understood her confusion and said, "Actually, I figured things out. I used to live so cowardly. From now on, I want to face life with a completely new attitude. What do you think?" "Oh, sounds good." Xu Nianqing was still a bit dazed. Many classmates around them were also staring in shock. Their impression of Beiran was similar to Xu Nianqing's, but with an added layer of jealousy. Xu Nianqing was recognized as the school belle of Liucheng No. 1 High School. Although she had never admitted it, every time someone confessed to her, she would wave them off and clearly state that she only wanted to focus on studying and had no intention of dating in school. This left many students feeling regretful. Today was Friday, and there was no evening self-study. The bell signaled the end of the day's classes, and students began packing their bags, ready to head home. Forget it, no time to explain. Beiran had no intention of staying at school. Right now, he was eager to go home and see his parents. Before any of the classmates could react, he quickly packed his things and darted out of the classroom like an angry bird. On the bus, Beiran began reminiscing. His hometown was in Donggang village, a small town in the southern part of Xiangnan province. The family had been poor when he was young, and his parents worked in cotton fields. Later, when the cotton price plummeted, his father decided to go work in the city, staying there for 5 years. "Eastport village is here. Anyone getting off?" The voice of the ticket seller brought Beiran back to the present. I'm getting off," he said, dazedly. The bus sped away, kicking up a cloud of dust, leaving behind a young figure. He didn't hesitate and walked past a stone bridge. Beyond the bridge was Donggang village, his hometown where he had grown up. In mid-April, the rapeseed flowers covered the fields in a golden carpet, with green grass leaves growing everywhere. The setting sun's rays shone on the rural road, casting a gentle, melancholic glow in the young man's eyes. Suddenly, Beiran stopped in his tracks and reached into his pocket, pulling out a smartphone. When he was young, his family had been poor. To send him to school, his parents had endured great hardship. He hadn't let them down and had managed to get into Star City Business School. But 2 months before the college entrance exam, a construction site accident occurred in the county, and his father was there that night. Beiran still remembered the familiar face lying in the hospital bed. It seemed to be asleep, but would never wake again. He lowered his head in silence, while his mother was already in tears beside him. Since then, Beiran rarely saw his mother smile. As the years went on, she became increasingly frail. That year, Beiran didn't attend business school but found a job in Star City. He didn't tell his mother, only occasionally sending money back. After working hard for over 10 years, he finally became an executive in a company in Star City. After facing the harsh realities of society, his character gradually shifted from introverted to more smooth and pragmatic. Last night's drinking party lasted until 2:30 a.m. After settling the boss and clients, Beiran had thrown up several times. As he slowly regained his senses, he found himself walking alone in the streets of Star City. The cold wind bit at him as he looked around. Star City was bustling even at midnight, with neon lights flashing, and barbecue stalls along the streets sizzling away. Customers were laughing, toasting, and enjoying the vibrant atmosphere. In contrast, Beiran felt somewhat out of place. He took out a cigarette from his pocket, lit it, and exhaled a cloud of smoke. Through the haze, he could see the years of his past fading away. Chapter 2: Beiran Chasing Love. Looking at it, he couldn't help but feel sad, tears flowed, and he began to recall the past. There are too many regrets in his life. He didn't finish college, he didn't take good care of his parents. Just as he was feeling sad, a dazzling white light enveloped him. He felt a little dazzled, raised his head hazily, saw a large truck and the terrified face of the truck driver. It turned out that I was hit and killed. Isn't this a classic plot in novels? Sure enough, reality is far more outrageous than novels. Soon, he calmed down and looked at the time on his phone. It was 5:40 on April 5, 2012. Smartphones have gradually become popular in this era. The mobile phone was bought by his parents some time ago. The reason was that other children had it, so their children should have it too. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something. Father Lu Qinchuan went to work at the construction site in the city at 6 o'clock this afternoon. He will always remember that when his father left, he said that he would bring him and his mother braised beef in the city to eat. After leaving, he never came back. Putting the phone back in his pocket, without any hesitation, Beiran sprinted at a speed he had never reached in his life. When he arrived in front of a small courtyard, he was already sweating profusely, bent over, with his hands on his knees and breathing heavily. Looking at the phone, it was for 55 p.m. At this time, a figure came out of the house. Beiran hurried forward and said, "Dad, it's almost time for dinner, why are you still going out?" Father Lu Qingchuan nodded, "Yes, I'm busy recently. I've been working from this afternoon to the evening. When I come back, I'll bring you 2 braised beef." Hearing this, Lu Ran's heart suddenly clicked and he quickly said, "Dad, I'll cook tonight, so don't go out. You can't make enough money. You can go another day." Lu Qingchuan smiled after hearing this. "Xiaoran, there's overtime pay in the evening." Beiran held down old Lu's worn-out second-hand electric car. "Anyway, you can't go today." "Hey, kid, what's wrong with you today?" Old Lu was a little confused. "Be obedient, this is an opportunity to make money. You're going to college soon, so you have to buy something beautiful. Go and accompany your mother, don't block my way here." After saying this, old Lu began to gently push Beiran. No matter what, Beiran was ruthless and picked up a brick from the ground beside him. Bang! In the shocked eyes of old Lu, the starter handle of his second-hand electric car broke with a click. After doing all this, he was still not at ease, so he pulled the battery cable, nodded with satisfaction, and then looked at old Lu in front of him. Old Lu was stunned in place, as if he had not recovered yet. Me, old Lu ran towards Beiran quickly, pretending to hit him. "What are you doing?" At this time, his mother Zhang Haixia ran out of the yard, grabbed his father who raised his hand, and said, "Our son will be a college student soon, you can't hit him." After hearing this, old Lu hesitated for a while and put down his raised hand. Zhang Haixia said to Beiran, "You said kid, if you don't want your dad to work hard, just say it directly, why do you have to smash the car, it's not money." "Then Dad, are you still going?" Beiran asked with a smile. "The car is broken, how can I go?" "You are such a scoundrel, kid. I've never seen you so rude before." Old Lu shook his head and sighed. "Okay, I'll go cook now," Beiran said hurriedly, smiling and looking at his father. Old Lu snorted, as if he was still angry. Beiran was in the kitchen, cooking while looking back outside. He saw old Lu sitting on a stool in the yard, smoking a pipe, looking a little depressed. Seeing this scene, Beiran breathed a sigh of relief, with a smile on his face. "It's great. My 2012. The next morning at 5 o'clock, Beiran got up from the bed and ran to the door of his parents' room, knocking dong dong dong. "What's wrong with you so early in the morning?" His father Lu Qingchuan's voice came. "It's okay, Dad and Mom, I love you," Beiran said and ran out of the house quickly. The sun was rising, and a gorgeous morning glow appeared in the east. Wisps of smoke floated on the roofs of the village, and the air was filled with a veil-like mist. Beiran shouted all the way to the rising sun, like a wild horse that had broken free from its reins, running recklessly, breaking free from its original shackles, and knowing the way he should go. After a long time, he stopped and breathed in the fresh air of his hometown, and 10 years of gloom were all gone in one day. Beiran had 600 yuan on him, which he had saved by living frugally. After returning home, he first pushed his electric bike to the village repair shop for repair, then went to the barber shop to spend for yuan to get a refreshing short haircut, and then took a comfortable hot bath when he got home. Looking at myself in the mirror, although my appearance is not as stunning as those packaged young stars, I am not ugly after all. It's just that I always keep my head down and don't take care of my appearance, so it's hard for others to notice me. After entering the society, Beiran also thought about it and felt that he had lost 100 million. After all, I have heard more than once how good college life is. At this time, my parents have already got up. My father Lu Qingchuan went to the field to apply pesticides, and my mother Zhang Haixia was making breakfast. Lu Ran returned to the room and began to analyze everything in front of him rationally. Reliving a new life, naturally I can't live a depressed life again. I have to find a way to make some money first. In my previous life, I have learned a lot of investment methods in the society. In this era, real estate speculation, stocks, Bitcoin, etc. are all highly profitable businesses, but considering the current conditions of my family, I don't have the starting capital, so I can't touch these things yet. But people with more capital have different ways to make money, and people with less capital have different ways to make money. In the past life, there were many businesses that could make a lot of money with a small investment. At this time, online marketing was not yet fully popular, and some internet celebrity foods only appeared later. What should I do? Forget it, let's have a good relationship first. After entering society in my previous life, I also began to learn how to take care of myself. I had several relationships, worked as a bootlicker, and was also a scumbag, but in the end, all of these became the past. I am still alone at the age of 30. While thinking, Beiran habitually touched his pocket, and then he realized that he had not yet been addicted to smoking. Quit. Take out your mobile phone. At this time, WeChat has already appeared, but it has not yet been popularized. It is still the era of QQ, but with the retreat of the funeral love family, it also announced the end of the era of non-mainstream space. QQ username changed from lonely to goodbye ideal. The signature also changed from your delusion has made me fall into the swamp of love to don't be happy with things, don't be sad with yourself. Beiran only has one QQ friend. His personality determines that he does not have the best friends in the novel. His only friend is his deskmate Xunyinqing, who took the initiative to add him because she wanted to urge him to study. In his previous life, he was actually quite helpless with this enthusiastic deskmate. Chapter 3 I Like You. Thinking about it now, I was such an idiot back then. I did what I said. After a simple breakfast, Beiran rode the electric bike that his father had repaired and left the village. An hour later, he arrived at a store in the county town and rented something. Then he drove to a rather high-end residential area. After parking the car, he first bought soy milk and fried dough sticks at the breakfast shop downstairs, and then took out his mobile phone and opened Xunyinqing's chat box. Beiran, do you believe in miracles? Not long after, Xunyinqing replied. What are you talking about? Beiran, open the window now. Soon, as the window on the second floor opened, Xunyinqing's little head popped out and saw Beiran, who was smiling downstairs. Not long after, Beiran heard the sound of thump 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 coming from the corridor, and soon Xunyinqing appeared in front of him. Why are you here? Xunyinqing was a little unbelievable. Beiran lifted the breakfast bag in his hand and shook it, smiling. Because I know someone is hungry. Xunyinqing obviously hadn't reacted to Beiran's sudden attack. She looked around and whispered, How do you know my home? Beiran didn't know the address of Xunyinqing's home until he graduated from high school. He paused and said, It's a secret. Xunyinqing curled her lips. Her deskmate didn't always say a bunch of fancy words like other classmates. She even took the initiative to add WeChat. Now he actually ran to her doorstep and brought breakfast, which made her a little confused. Eat quickly, I'll take you somewhere after you finish eating. Ran said. But my parents are at home. Xunyinqing hesitated. Then I'll go upstairs and say hello to my uncle and aunt. Beiran said and was about to go downstairs. Wait a minute. Xunyinqing hurriedly stopped Beiran and said, You come here so early in the morning and go to my house. My parents will definitely misunderstand. Beiran certainly knew Xunyinqing's thoughts. The other party was not averse to him, so there was such a communication space. Naturally, he had to seize the opportunity. Then I'll wait for you downstairs. Beiran asked. Xunyinqing thought briefly and nodded, Okay, wait for me for a while. After that, she ran upstairs with breakfast. After Xunyinqing left, Beiran also went to the stall to buy a few big meat buns. After swallowing them whole, he drank a bowl of soy milk. Then he patted his belly comfortably, feeling very comfortable. In his previous life, because of many years of socializing, he had a serious stomach disease. He usually ate just for fun. I don't know how long it has been since he had a full meal. Dingling. The phone notification sounded. Beiran opened QQ and it was a message from Xunyinqing. Wait for me at the corner ahead. Beiran smiled and left the stall. He knew that Xunyinqing didn't want her parents to find out, which also meant that she didn't reject him, and he could use this opportunity to start the next step. The plan to capture the school beauty officially began. When Beiran drove the electric car to the corner, Xunyinqing came over after a few minutes, looking around. After finding that there was no one around, she walked to Lu Beiran and whispered. What are you doing? I feel like a thief. For Xunyanqing, who came from a wealthy family and had top academic performance, this feeling was something she had never experienced before. However, just as Lu Beiran thought, she did not reject him, but on the contrary, she had some faint expectations. This did not mean that she felt about Lu Beiran, but that she was used to living a monotonous life, and she would be curious about this kind of wild way, and the other party was her deskmate for 3 years, and she believed in his character. Lu Beiran handed the helmet to Xunyanqing, patted the back seat of the electric bike, and said with a smile. Come on, princess, please get on the horse. TSK, boring. Xunyanqing muttered, put on the helmet, and sat on the back seat. As the electric bike started, the surrounding scenery began to change. It must be said that Lu Beiran's driving skills were very stable. Even at a speed of 80 miles per hour, he did not feel any shaking, and Xunyanqing did not feel any bumps. From the high-rise buildings to the uneven low houses, and finally to a countryside covered with rape flowers. The morning sun shone from the sky, reflecting colorful light on the crystal dewdrops. The mist had not yet completely dissipated, and there was a different kind of haziness. Xunyanqing grew up in the city since she was a child. She had only seen the scenery of the countryside in books and had no personal experience. Lu Beiran parked the electric bike on the side of the road, and took Xunyanqing to the rapeseed field, smiling, is it beautiful? Beautiful. Xunyanqing blurted out, seeming to be immersed in this scene. At this time, Lu Beiran walked to the electric bike, opened the seat with the key, and there was a guitar inside. This was rented before he came to find Xunyanqing. In his previous life, he had been wandering for 12 years. When he just entered society, he also had a dream of becoming a star. He taught himself guitar and thought about entering the entertainment industry. But later he realized that he had no background and no capital, and had nothing to do with the entertainment industry, so he could only sing in bars, thinking that one day a scout would discover him. This wait lasted for 2 years. The scout didn't come, but a lot of rich women joined. Of course, they were forced to do so. They still had a lot of ideas about the young Lu Beiran, but Lu Beiran was still very immature at that time, and he didn't want to bow down for a few dollars, so he refused the invitation of the rich women to ask him to watch a movie in the middle of the night. Lu Beiran hung the guitar on his body and stroked the 6 strings with his fingers. At this time, Xunyanqing also turned her head and noticed Lu Beiran holding the guitar. Oh, you can play the guitar? Xunyanqing asked with a smile. I know a little bit. Lu Beiran nodded gently, the most beautiful, sunny day, for the most beautiful you. The little yellow flower of the story. It has been floating since the year I was born. Swinging in childhood. Swinging with memory until now. As Lu Beiran's magnetic voice sounded, Xunyanqing's thoughts were completely attracted. It must be said that this classmate sang very well. If you observe carefully, you will find that his appearance seems to be a little different, and even his eyes have become clear from the original dullness. Once upon a time, there was someone who loved you for a long time. But the wind gradually blowed the distance so far. Finally, I can love you for one more day. But at the end of the story, you seem to have said goodbye. After the song, Lu Beiran looked at Xunyanqing, who was still immersed in the song. She smiled and showed 2 shallow dimples on her cheeks. Her clear eyes seemed to have stars twinkling. Xunyanqing. What's wrong? Lu Beiran's shout brought her thoughts back to reality. I like you. Chapter 4, The First Pot of Gold. These 4 words were like an 8/4 scale that stirred up huge waves in Xunyanqing's heart. At this moment, she stood there in a daze, her beautiful eyes wide open, with an expression of disbelief. What did you say? She asked. I said I like you. Lu Beiran responded with a smile. After Lu Beiran finished speaking, Xunyanqing's fair cheeks instantly turned pink, as gorgeous as the clouds in the sky. But, I haven't thought about falling in love. Xunyanqing hesitated, obviously not expecting Lu Beiran to confess to her. It's this situation. Lu Beiran thought about it and continued, you don't have to respond so quickly. I brought you out today just to express my feelings. High school life is about to end and we may have to part ways. I just want to say what I have kept in my heart for 3 years. I don't want to leave any regrets in my youth. Looking at the serious Lu Beiran in front of her, Xunyanqing knew that he was not joking. She pursed her lips slightly, lowered her head, crossed her hands, and rubbed her 2 white thumbs. Stupid, take the exam well. Lu Beiran put the guitar back under the chair and said to Xu Nianqing, let me take you home. Your parents will be worried soon. Yeah, okay. Although Lu Beiran said something that shocked me, the fact that he wanted to send me home now also meant that he had no bad intentions. Xu Nianqing thought about it and glanced at Lu Beiran. The scene of him singing passionately before was still lingering in the girl's mind. She suddenly felt that this classmate seemed not bad. But of course I want to have a romantic relationship, and now the college entrance examination is approaching. Wait until school comes and tutor him properly. After Lu Beiran sent Xu Nianqing home along the same route, he returned the rented guitar to the store owner, bought a new set of clothes at the clothing store, and drove his electric car back home. It was already afternoon when he got home. His parents were still working in the fields and had not returned yet. Lu Beiran heated up the food, ate, washed the dishes, and returned to the bedroom. Ding-ling. At this time, the cell phone rang. Xu Nianqing, I'm very happy today, thank you. Lu Beiran smiled. Girls at this age are generally more innocent. Xu Nianqing took the initiative to send him a message, which proved that she was really happy. This was certainly a good start for him. What happened today undoubtedly left an indelible impression in her heart. Maybe when she sees rape flowers in the future, she will think of the image of a boy holding a guitar. He missed too much in his previous life. Now that God has given him another chance to live, he naturally has to get back what he lost. He began typing. No, I should thank you. You know that I have always kept my heart closed during these years. I had planned to live like this for the rest of my life, but I didn't expect a girl to break into my world. At that moment, I realized that life is still beautiful. The girl's smile and frown are like the warm sun in winter, melting the thousands of layers of ice and snow in my heart. These words would undoubtedly make people want to live in a 2-bedroom apartment in the previous life, but they are very useful in this era, and Lu Beiran knows this very well. Xu Nianqing, who was sitting in the bedroom, heard the prompt tone and immediately opened QQ. When he saw the message sent by Lu Beiran, his cheeks instantly flushed. I've never seen him talk so much before. The girl he is talking about should be me, right? But I really never thought about falling in love at school. But I'm really happy today. Knock knock knock. There was a knock on the door. My dear daughter, it's time to eat. The voice of Mother Lin Wanqiu came from outside the door. Okay, Mom. I'll be there right away. Xu Nianqing stood up immediately. Halfway through her run, she was startled. As if she had thought of something, she turned back, picked up her phone, opened QQ and started typing. Okay, my mom asked me to eat, so you should eat well too. See you at school. Lu Beiran smiled after seeing the message. He had had several relationships in his previous life, but the partners were all floating around in society. Material support was an indispensable factor, which was also the reason why he broke up later. Pure campus romance was like a chasm for him, too far away. Okay, see you at school. After replying to the message, Lu Beiran decided to start earning his first pot of gold. I opened the App Store on my phone, searched for Singularity Reading, and clicked to download. Writing novels is now the only thing that does not require any cost, but Lu Beiran does not have a computer now, so he can only write on his mobile phone. Although the efficiency is not that high, it is not a difficult task for him who could chat with 10 clients at the same time in his previous life. After downloading, click to become a writer. He gave himself a pen name called Mr. Lu, and the next step was to create works. The popular books during this period were Fights Break Sphere and Evernight. The genres were relatively simple compared to the previous life. They were basically stories about a genius boy who was abandoned overnight and then counterattacked to get slapped in the face. Readers also enjoyed it and never got tired of reading it. With his Chinese language skills, he should be able to do well if he follows the trend, but female readers seem to be more generous. In his previous life, when he was reading novels, he would see a floating screen from time to time. The Big Miss of Shanghai rewarded The Delicate Beauty Reborn after, with 1 million points and became the silver ally of this book. The Silver Alliance only paid 10,000 yuan, and if he split it in half with the website, he could get 5,000 yuan. Lu Beiran was very envious. He had thought about writing novels before, but was too busy with work, so he had no choice but to give up. But this is indeed a great opportunity. Lu Beiran did it right away. He clicked Create New Book and started typing in the title. He typed a few words on the page where he would create the book and clicked OK. The Domineering Lady Falls in Love with Me was successfully created. Although he had not read many books on women, the knowledge points from his previous life were still there, so it was not difficult for him to write them down. Next, we need to code the main text. First of all, a novel must have something time travel. The background is set in Yun Dynasty, and the protagonist Lu Junyu's soul travels through time and space to the body of the male servant of the current Empress Rong Qingxue. There are not so many restrictions at this point in time, and there is a lot of room for you to play. First, the protagonist gave the Empress a massage. The Empress frowned slightly and asked the protagonist what kind of fingering technique was so comfortable. Then the protagonist started to make up stories and spoke sweet words, which made the Empress's red lips curl up and her eyes look full of love. Liu Beiran's ideas flowed like a stream and he wrote furiously. Soon, he had typed out 10,000 words. Click Publish to enter the library review. I looked at the time and realized that 3 hours had passed without me noticing. I have to say that my physical fitness after Rebirth is really good. It may be because I have been a human being in 2 lives. Even my imagination has become richer. However, the efficiency of typing on a mobile phone is still much lower than that on a computer. Without the crackling sound, it always feels like something is missing. I definitely have to buy a computer, and the most urgent thing is to get the royalties first. Within an hour, I received the news that my work had passed the review, which also meant that my book had appeared on Singularity Chinese website. The next step was to wait for the contract to be signed. The next morning, I received the signing news from the female editor. During this period, all contracts were paper-based, so Liu Beiran rode his electric bike to the county town to print the contracts. After sending the contracts out and returning home, he had already published 10,000 words and received comments from fellow book lovers. Is the author a pseudonym of a great writer? How come he wrote it so well? Great Lord, please hurry up, I can't sleep at night. Hurry up and sign the contract. I have already recharged the money. Liu Bao, my Superman color. Chapter 5, Why do you bully him? Liu Beiran had been locking himself in his bedroom for the past 2 days. His parents thought he was studying and did not disturb him. They just called him to eat on time. Time passed quickly, and it was Monday again, the day to go to school. After Liu Beiran finished his breakfast and chatted with his parents for a while, he got on the bus to Liucheng No. 1 Middle School. There were still 40,000 words of manuscripts saved in his phone. Now he just had to wait for the contract status to be changed. Liu Beiran checked the comments again and saw all the positive reviews. He was very satisfied and set off on the journey back to school. Half an hour later, the vehicle stopped at the gate of No. 1 Middle School. He actually doesn't have many memories of school. To be more precise, it was due to his personality that he was not willing to communicate with his classmates. No matter when and where, he always stayed in the most inconspicuous corner. As time went by, his personality became more and more withdrawn, and he remained so until he dropped out of school. His entire campus life was uneventful. Thinking back to reality, Liu Beiran walked towards the classroom of Grade 3 Class 2 with ease. It was the peak time for students to return to school. The cold winter had already dissipated, and many girls were dressed coolly, and long legs could be seen everywhere. Student Liu Beiran. At this time, a voice was heard. Her burgundy hair was scattered all over. She wore a white t-shirt with a brown pleated skirt, white high-heeled sandals, and a big bear pattern was printed on her shirt. Liu Wenwen. A name appeared in Liu Ran's mind, and then he fell into memories. In the setting sun, on a stone bench in the school, there were 2 figures, a boy and a girl. The girl was smiling sweetly, while the boy next to her lowered his head, looking a little shy. Student Liu Beiran, you have to be more cheerful in the future. What will you do if you continue to be like this? Liu Wenwen said with a smile. Liu Beiran still lowered his head and stammered, I like it this way. But life is still beautiful. If you look up, you will find better scenery. Liu Wenwen still smiled like a flower. At this moment, Liu Beiran's heart was stirred. He glanced at Liu Wenwen and smiled softly, thank you. This smile gave the young man all the courage he needed for his entire life. Okay, very good. At this time, a voice came from a distance. Liu Beiran suddenly raised his head and saw a male classmate walking towards them. It was Yu Jianhua from his class. Yu Jianhua was holding a small camera in his hand, the corners of his mouth unconsciously raised, and there was a hint of contempt in his eyes when he looked at Lu Beiran. Lu Ran was a little confused. Before he could figure out what was going on, he saw Liu Wenwen standing up, walking to Yu Jianhua, and asking, "Did you take pictures of everything?" "Don't worry, not only the voice is clear, but even the expression is very clear." Yu Jianhua patted his chest and responded with a proud look on his face. In Lu Beiran's sight, two figures walked away from him. At dusk, the journey to the classroom seemed particularly long in the diffused sunset. The next day, a post appeared on the wall of the number 1 middle school. It was a video with the following caption: "Liu Wenwen from class 1-2 of senior high school is a beautiful and kind person. She is willing to humble herself and guide her lonely and socially anxious classmates. She is a role model for number 1 middle school." On the third day, Liu Wenwen became the class beauty of class 1-2 of senior high school. Liu Wenwen naturally had a reason to come to see Lu Beiran today. After becoming the recognized beauty in class in her freshman year of high school, she received a lot of flowers and applause, and the boys pursuing her lined up from the dormitory building to the school gate. But as time went by, even Xun Yanqing, who had been deliberately keeping a low profile, came into the public eye. Soon she discovered that the number of boys around her gradually decreased, and now there are only a few left. This was hard to accept for Liu Wenwen, who was extremely proud, so she had to find a way to change the situation. However, in terms of appearance, she was indeed not as good as Xun Yanqing. After much thought, she still set her sights on Lu Beiran. At this time, Liu Wenwen was holding a cup of coffee in her hand. She looked at Lu Beiran with a smile and said, "Student Lu Beiran, this is the Starbucks I bought outside the school. You probably haven't had it before. Try it." After saying that, he handed over the coffee in his hand. Lu Beiran glanced around and found a camera hidden behind a flower bed. He walked straight forward and looked at Liu Wenwen, who was smiling in front of him. "I'm sorry, I've told you many times that we are not suitable for each other. Please stop pestering me, or I will be rude to you." After saying that, he strode away, leaving Liu Wenwen and the others with a dashing back. When they returned to the classroom, most of the students had already arrived. Xun Yanqing was reviewing with her head down, and Lu Beiran pulled her high ponytail. "What are you doing?" Xun Yanqing reached out and patted Lu Beiran's arm, pouting with an angry look on her face. Lu Beiran looked at her with a smile. After playing around for a while, Lu Beiran took out his cell phone and started reading his novel. Now that the contract status has been changed, there are more comments and rewards, but some negative comments have also appeared. Lu Beiran didn't find it strange. Online literature is just for fun. If you really want to delve into the logic, first of all, you can't explain the time travel. Adhering to the principle that mindless criticism can be left intact, but reasonable and well-founded criticism can be deleted and banned, Lu Beiran began to scream like a meteor chasing the moon. Cough cough. A cough brought Lu Beiran back to reality. Based on his years of slacking off in his previous life, he instantly clamped his phone between his inner thigh and the seat, raised his left hand to look at his nails, and then began to flip through the review materials he had opened in advance as if nothing had happened. At the same time, the head teacher Li Huai also walked up to the podium. He first glanced around the podium, took out a notebook and wrote down the list of latecomers, then cleared his throat and said, "Students, you are about to take the college entrance examination. You must always remember that this will be your chance to change your destiny." Their head teacher was spitting all over the platform, while Lu Beiran in his seat was already distracted. After the head teacher left, the classroom gradually became noisy, probably because of the atmosphere just now. Just as Lu Beiran was organizing his words to deepen his relationship with Xun Yanqing, he suddenly saw 3 figures walking towards him. "Lu Beiran, Wenwen said she wanted to talk to you, why are you still unwilling?" The person who spoke was Liu Wenwen's follower Yu Jianhua. As a veteran licker of Liu Wenwen, Yu Jianhua couldn't help but get furious after hearing Lu Beiran say those words to Liu Wenwen. Only my goddess rejects others, how could she be rejected by others, especially by Lu Beiran, the autistic kid? This was hard for him to accept, and he was determined to seek justice for his goddess. Lu Beiran still sat in the same position, just watching calmly. The other students around glanced towards where the few people were, but no one wanted to step forward to smooth things over. After all, they were not familiar with Lu Beiran, and there was no need to offend Yu Jianhua for him. Lu Beiran's mentality at this time was completely different. In high school, many classmates would say how many big brothers they knew outside and where their cousins were, but when they were surrounded by people, their former, heroic demeanor disappeared. So it is actually very simple to deal with such people. You just need to go to the political and educational office. If you want to make a big fuss, you can also call the police. However, most students are afraid of retaliation, so they endure it silently, which forms a vicious cycle. A background music called "He's a Pirate" suddenly popped up in Beiran's mind. It was the soundtrack of a movie called Pirates of the Caribbean that he had seen in his previous life. At this moment, in Beiran's eyes, Genwa and the two followers in front of him seemed to be the crew members cursed by the devil, waving their broken tentacles at him with ferocious expressions. And he himself was like Captain Jack. The background music had already been turned on, his hand was on the top of the long sword, ready to go. It seems that this is the first highlight moment after my rebirth. Then I'll make a fool of myself. Bang! Why do you bully him? Chapter 6, A Coolback. Beiran. Xu Nianqing, who was standing by, slammed the table and stood up, her beautiful eyes glaring at Genwa and the other two. You don't study hard every day, and you only know how to bully your classmates. People like you are the parasites of the school. Genwa was speechless, but he couldn't refute. He had coveted Xu Nianqing's beauty before and was one of the earliest suitors. He thought that he could buy some gifts to please Xu Nianqing by relying on his family's money, but he never thought that the other party didn't even look at him. What are you talking about? If you don't leave now, I'm going to the political education department now. Xu Nianqing was still as confident as ever. The other students were also a little shocked. Usually, Xu Nianqing was the kind of person who studied silently and never argued with her classmates. This was the first time they saw her like this today. Seeing this, Genwa had to give up for the time being. He glared at Beiran fiercely, then snorted and left angrily. After they left, Xu Nianqing sat down again, looked at Ran beside her, and said, "You don't have to be afraid. We are now in a society ruled by law. School violence should be rectified. If they dare to cause trouble for you again, I will report them to the political and educational department and let them all be punished. You are worthy of being called such a genius, Xiaoshu." Ran thought to himself, looking at Xu Nianqing in front of him, his eyes twitching, and he lowered his head slightly. "I'm sorry to trouble you. In fact, at this time when the college entrance examination is approaching, students like Genwa are rare. The most troublemakers have either had their edges smoothed out in the previous 2 years, or have been sent home." In fact, Beiran understood it. He was willing to risk his life for the woman he loved. "But it's wrong for you to step on me to show off." Tat-a-tat. At this time, the sound of high heels stepping on the ground was heard. Soon, a beautiful figure walked into the classroom. She wore light makeup, long black hair tied up behind her head, a black lace shirt on the upper body, a black miniskirt on the lower body, black high heels and black stockings on her feet, sexy yet dignified. For adolescent male students, this is undoubtedly a huge test. Many students get their blood boiling and have a lot of imagination just by hearing the sound of high heels. Qin Yu. Beiran was very familiar with this name, and a past event slowly emerged with his memories. Qin Yu is currently 24 years old, has just graduated from a normal school, and is currently doing an internship at Liucheng No. 1 Middle School. Although she dresses in an avant-garde style, it is also due to the girl's natural love of beauty, and she is not the kind of person who likes to play. Maybe because he was young and inexperienced in his previous life, he was very caring towards Beiran, who had good grades but a cowardly personality. He was one of the rare lights in Beiran's gloomy high school life. But fate was cruel. After graduation, Beiran heard that she had a boyfriend. No one knew what happened to her, but she jumped off the building 1 month after the college entrance examination. Later it was said to be related to her boyfriend, but the police did not release the specific details. Qin Yu walked up to the podium, opened today's teaching materials and prepared to give a lecture. Beiran glanced at Genwa's position, and seemed to have noticed his gaze. Genwa turned his head, smiled contemptuously, and made a gesture of wiping his neck. This was a naked provocation, and it also told Beiran what he was about to face. Suddenly, there was a slight commotion around and many students turned their heads with confused looks on their faces. I saw Beiran had stood up from his desk, his eyes were calm, no emotion could be seen, he walked towards the podium with his head held high and his chest puffed out. At this moment, the BGM in his mind had changed to overty to the small knife society, and he seemed to have turned into the Monkey King wearing golden armor, a purple gold crown on his head, cloud-covered shoes on his feet, and holding a golden hoop stick. The fiery red cloak was blown up by the wind, reflecting the blood-red clouds. He stood in front of the south gate of heaven, facing 100,000 heavenly soldiers without any fear. A dialogue comes to mind. Where do you want to go, great sage? Tread on the southern sky and shatter the sky. What if you never come back? Then you'll never come back. Of course, this was just Beiran's imagination. In the eyes of his classmates, it was just a student who was usually unknown and suddenly did something that shocked everyone. English teacher Qin Yu was also stunned. Usually, her impression of this student was that he was serious and liked to stay in the corner. This was also the reason why she cared about him. Beiran walked up to the podium, nodded calmly at Qin Yu, and turned to face the students below the stage. He looked in Yu Jianhua's direction again, and the two of them looked into each other's eyes. Stupid. Everyone. You, what the hell did you say? Yu Jianhua knew that Beiran was talking about him. He glanced at Liu Wenwen's position and found that she was also looking at him. He immediately slammed the table and stood up. The classroom of grade 3-2 began to get noisy, and the students were all confused. English teacher Qin Yu was stunned for a moment, then lowered her voice and said, "Student Beiran, class is in session now." After saying that, he glanced at the classroom door again, and felt relieved when he saw that no one was coming. Beiran chuckled and shook his head, looking at Yu Jianhua, who had already stood up from his seat, and said, "I'm not talking about you. I mean everyone who bullies their classmates is an idiot." Yu Jianhua under the podium began to tremble slightly due to being too angry, and several of his followers also looked at Lu Ran angrily. The other students were confused at first, but now they seemed to understand after hearing Beiran's words. It was no secret that he was often bullied by Yu Jianhua and his friends. Coupled with the fact that Yu Jianhua and others had just taken the initiative to provoke trouble, Beiran's emotions might have reached their peak and erupted like a volcano at this moment. Liu Wenwen had a dazed look on her face. She was somewhat doubting her life at the moment. Was this still the Beiran she knew? I want to say that everyone is equal in school, and there is no distinction between high and low, but there are some bad guys who like to break this. I really don't know where their sense of superiority comes from. Everyone, please remember this in the future. Even your parents are reluctant to beat you, so why do those bad guys have the right to do so? If there is a similar situation in the future, please tell me and I will get these bad apples out of number 1 middle school. After Beiran finished speaking, the audience was silent for 2 seconds. Well said. At this time, a classmate shouted. Good. Immediately afterwards, cheers came one after another, and the whole classroom was filled with shouts. Yu Jianhua and his friends looked livid. Normally, they relied on their family's small fortune and their acquaintance with some so-called social big brothers to bully others in class. They never expected the situation today. Beiran glanced at the English teacher Qin Yu standing next to him and found that she did not interrupt him, but continued to stare at the classroom door, pursing her red lips, seeming a little worried. She didn't know yet that this glance today might change her life. Beiran immediately turned around and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Qin, for interrupting your class." "No, it's okay." Qin Yu waved her hands. This was the first time she encountered such a situation and she looked a little dazed. Before Qin Yu could react, Beiran had already left the podium and returned to his seat amid the shocked gazes of his classmates. Only a chic-back figure was left behind. That's the feeling. At this time, the BGM in Beiran's mind had disappeared, and the picture turned into the Monkey King holding the golden cudgel standing on the top of the Lingxiao Palace, with broken walls and ruins under his feet. Chapter 7, Rainy Day Stories. Beiran returned to his seat. The students in the classroom were all whispering and noisy. Xu Nianqing smiled at him, as if she thought there was nothing wrong with what he did. Okay, students, class will start now. Soon, under Qin Yu's guidance, the classroom returned to silence again. As for Yu Jianhua and the others, even though they had thought of 100 ways for Beiran to die, they did not dare to make trouble now. After all, it was a classroom and the college entrance examination was approaching. If they were punished, it would be a loss. But if you can't do that in school, teachers outside the school can't do anything about it. Several people immediately exchanged glances, and a sly smile appeared on the corners of their mouths. But Lu Beiran didn't care. He certainly knew what they were thinking. He would never have done this in his previous life. He also had his own plans. Just like that, the matter was temporarily settled. During the time at school, Yu Jianhua and his companions did not cause any trouble to Lu Beiran again. Everything seemed calm, but Lu Beiran knew very well that the other party was just waiting for an opportunity. However, he did not take it too seriously. As a person who had been reborn, these little campus fights could no longer cause him any trouble. He continued to update his novels steadily and chatted with Xu Nianqing from time to time to enhance their relationship. I was still thinking about the matter of my English teacher Qin Yu. After I spoke in the classroom that day, the head teacher did not come to me afterwards, which also showed that the English teacher did not spread the matter. In fact, it didn't matter to the head teacher if he knew about Lu Beiran. He just did what he was supposed to do, and it was a good opportunity to expose their evil deeds. If their head teacher didn't care, then let the political education department handle it. Although it wouldn't be spread outside the campus, they would at least give some symbolic punishment. The few coins in Yu Jianhua's family were not enough to show in front of the school. In his previous life, Qin Yu committed suicide 1 month after taking the college entrance examination. He observed himself and found that Qin Yu's recent state was indeed different. When he met her on the street, she was often smiling with her arms around her. She must be in the stage of passionate love. It seems that the fuse that made him lose hope in life has not yet started. Since you helped me, I will help you too. The teacher's contact information is transparent, and some students will add them as friends to ask about things related to their studies, but this has nothing to do with Lu Beiran in his previous life. Half a month passed in a flash, and it was Friday after school again. The domineering female king falls in love with me was ready to be put on the shelves. It has been ranked first on the list of new books for women, and has received constant comments and rewards. The sky is grey today, and the whole world has become dim under the cover of dark clouds. Occasionally, there are few loud thunderclaps, giving people a depressing feeling of dark clouds pressing down on the city, threatening to destroy it. The novel being published means that I will get paid for my writing soon. After a rough estimate, the reward money has exceeded 10,000 yuan. I will soon have my first pot of gold and can start thinking about how to spend it. Lu Beiran thought about it and stared at the sky in a daze, while Xu Nianqing glanced at his profile out of the corner of her eye. It's raining. My dad will come to pick me up later. I'll ask him to take you back. Xu Nianqing said. Lu Beiran shook his head. I have something else to do later, you go back first. No, you must come back with me. Xu Nianqing insisted. Of course Lu Beiran knew what she was thinking. She was afraid of being retaliated against. Be obedient. You go back first. I'll come to see you tomorrow and we'll go to Jishan together. Lu Beiran smiled, his eyes full of tenderness. Well, okay then. Xu Nianqing had no choice but to agree. No, why should I agree to go out and play with him? I plan to review it tomorrow. Forget it, just go out. I haven't gotten some fresh air in a long time. When the head teacher announced the end of school, the students rushed out of the classroom with a bang. Xu Nianqing looked at Lu Beiran, who was sitting in the classroom, and curled her lips. You really won't come with me? She asked. Lu Beiran smiled and shook his head. See you tomorrow. Xu Nianqing had no choice but to leave. As soon as she went out, her father Xu Jianhua was already waiting at the door with a BMW 3 Series parked next to him. He smiled and waved at Xu Nianqing. However, he noticed that his daughter looked a little strange today, so he asked, My dear daughter, are you in a bad mood today? Xu Nianqing shook her head. It's okay, Dad. I wanted you to bring a classmate back, but he didn't come because of something. Oh, I see. Xu Jianhua said with a smile, then let's do it next time. We still have a lot of time. Your mother made your favorite braised pork today. Let's go back quickly. Yeah. Xu Nianqing nodded gently, her eyes full of melancholy. Lu Beiran and the others had almost all left before he slowly walked out with his school bag on his back. Boom! With a loud thunder, drizzle began to fall from the sky. The rain got heavier and heavier, and the ground at the classroom door was completely wet. The wind blew in some rain that touched the skin, which was wet and a bit cool. Lu Beiran opened his black umbrella and walked out of the school gate in the rain. The school gate was still a few hundred meters away from the bus stop. Liu Beiran was walking on the muddy path and soon saw several figures in front of him. The leader Yu Jianhua glanced at him and smiled unbridledly. There were two followers standing beside him, looking at him with smiles, their eyes like a wild wolf looking at a little white rabbit. Liu Beiran suddenly had a sense of déjà vu about this situation. He had encountered such scenes several times in his previous life, but he always gave in and silently endured their ridicule. At this time, they were still 100 meters away, and Liu Beiran was still walking with an umbrella, with no intention of stopping or running away. This made Yu Jianhua and others feel a little strange. This boy was alone, and they had never seen him so brave before. When they were facing each other, Yu Jianhua said with a smile, "Liu Beiran, kneel down and kowtow to me now, and then cooperate with Wenwen to shoot a video, and I will let you go today, how about that?" Liu Beiran looked at another pavilion where Liu Wenwen was sitting with some snacks and Starbucks coffee next to the wooden chair. Liu Wenwen took a sip of the coffee Yu Jianhua bought for her and frowned. Last time, Liu Beiran not only rejected her, but also said that he was not suitable for her, making it seem like she was shamelessly chasing after him. Yu Jianhua said he would teach him a lesson, so of course she had to witness it with her own eyes, but she also said in advance that this had nothing to do with her. Liu Beiran nodded slightly. Seeing this, Yu Jianhua's smile became even more intense, and he looked at Liu Wenwen in the distance, like a pet dog wagging its tail to its owner, wanting to get praise. "Then you start." As soon as Yu Jianhua finished speaking, a follower behind him took out his mobile phone and started filming, making tsk sounds at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were full of contempt. Liu Beiran lowered his head and walked in front of Yu Jianhua. He stammered. "What do you mean by I? Come on and tell me. Do you want me to pry your mouth open?" Yu Jianhua deliberately raised his voice. He glanced at Liu Wenwen, who was standing beside him, and saw that she was looking at him with a smile. He couldn't help but feel satisfied. At this time, there were a few students passing by, and they basically turned a blind eye to the situation. No one wanted to get involved in trouble. Liu Beiran still kept his head down, letting the rain splash on his body. His clothes were already soaked. "You don't understand what I'm saying, do you? I'll just say what I'm told to say." Yu Jianhua was a little impatient. Suddenly, Liu Beiran raised his head. "Fuck your mother." Chapter 8, Moisturizing Things Silently. Before Liu Beiran finished speaking, he threw a punch right at Jianhua's face. Yu Jianhua was unable to react in time. In a trance, a shadow enveloped him in front of his eyes. Then he felt a huge impact and fell to the ground in an instant. There was a buzzing sound in his brain and the sky suddenly became dark. Without any hesitation, Liu Beiran took a step forward and kicked the follower behind Yu Jianhua in the abdomen. The follower instantly flew backwards like a shrimp in a bent bow. I'll fucking beat you to death." Finally, the henchman reacted, his face became ferocious, and he punched Liu Beiran in the face. Liu Beiran dodged nimbly by leaning sideways, then grabbed his wrist with his right hand, pressed down on his head with his left hand, and met the attack with his knee. He was extremely fast and everything happened in a flash. Liu Beiran grew up in the countryside. When he was young, he followed his parents to do farm work and developed a muscular body. It was just because of his personality in his previous life that he had no room to perform. However, his physical fitness was by no means comparable to those pampered city people. Coupled with his fighting experience in his previous life, he knocked down the three men in an instant. Snap! Not far away, the Starbucks coffee in Liu Wenwen's hand spilled, staining her newly bought Gucci dress with a large stain. Her eyes widened, and she stood there in a daze, looking at everything in front of her in disbelief. Liu Beiran looked at the three people rolling on the ground and shouted, "If you dare to provoke me again, I will beat you up every time I see you." After saying that, he walked towards Liu Wenwen. As Liu Beiran entered the pavilion, Liu Wenwen immediately stood up and asked in horror, What do you want to do?" "Sorry, I don't want to." Liu Beiran looked cold. He picked up the remaining Starbucks coffee on the table, lifted the lid and the straw with his thumb, and took a sip. It's so damn disgusting." After saying that, he threw the coffee on the table and strode away in the wind and rain, leaving Liu Wenwen with a dazed look on her face. As Liu Beiran walked to the bus stop, an umbrella was extended over his head. When he looked sideways, he saw that it was his English teacher Qin Yu. "Student Liu Beiran, why don't you even open an umbrella in such heavy rain?" Qin Yu asked with concern. Liu Beiran smiled and shook his head. I met a few wild dogs on the way and they bit me to pieces. Qin Yu didn't ask any more questions and held the umbrella for Lu Beiran. Seeing Lu Beiran being drenched like a drowned chicken, she suddenly felt distressed. I'm the only daughter in my family. Actually, I've always wanted to have a younger brother. After a long time, she said softly, trying to find a topic to break the silence. Before Lu Beiran could respond, the bus to Donggang village had already stopped at the platform. Lu Beiran immediately got into the car, and before the door was about to close, he suddenly turned his head. Teacher Qin, please add me on QQ. After saying that, the car door closed. Qin Yu was a little confused. She didn't expect Lu Beiran to add her on his own initiative. Could it be that there was some difficult question? I've never seen him like this before. Thinking back to the previous situation in the classroom, she felt more and more that this student had become different. As soon as Lu Beiran returned home, he heard his mother Zhang Haixie's reproachful voice, "Didn't you bring an umbrella with you? What if you catch a cold after getting soaked like this?" Lu Beiran smiled and said, "Don't worry, Mom. Your son is in good health. You're even talking nonsense now." Zhang Haixie scolded, her eyes full of kindness. "I'll get you some hot water. Hurry up and take a shower before eating." As soon as she finished speaking, she went to do her work while her father watched TV at home. Lu Beiran had a brief chat with his father, took a comfortable hot bath, changed into new clothes, and after dinner, he exchanged a few words with his parents before returning to his room. When I opened my phone, there were already 2 unread messages from Xunyanqing. "Have you reached home yet? Why don't you reply to me?" Lu Beiran immediately began to type. "I'm already home. I wasn't looking at my phone just now. What are you doing?" "Just sent it," not long after Xunyanqing replied. "I just had dinner and was watching TV with my mom." Lu Beiran, did you miss me? Xunyanqing, TSK, only ghosts miss you. The mother, Lin Wanqiu, noticed that her daughter looked a little strange and asked quickly, "My dear daughter, what's wrong with you? I always see you smiling." I'm fine. I'm chatting with my classmates." Xunyanqing spoke vaguely and quickly put away her smile. She was originally worried that Lu Beiran would be retaliated against, so she asked her father to take him home, but Lu Beiran was unwilling. She was helpless and looked back after leaving the school gate, but did not see Yu Jianhua and the others. But she was always worried, especially when Lu Beiran didn't reply to her messages. She was so anxious that she was ready to call the dean. It wasn't until Lu Beiran replied that he finally let go of his worries. At this moment, a picture kept circling in her mind. In a rapeseed field, a boy was holding a guitar and singing Jay Cho's "Sunny Day," and at the end he confessed to her. Xunyanqing didn't know why she kept thinking about him. Maybe this was the result of their 3 years of friendship as deskmates. Well, that's definitely the case. She thought about it and decided to give him some good tutoring next time she returned to school. After Lu Beiran returned to his bedroom, he received a notice from the editor that the book was on the shelves, along with a few words of encouragement, which roughly said that the book was doing very well and had the potential to become a masterpiece, and asked him to keep updating. Lu Beiran simply replied to express his gratitude, browsed the comment area, and then went to the class group to add English teacher Qin Yu as a friend. Not long after, the call came through. After a simple greeting, Lu Beiran turned off his phone and started typing. When he stopped writing, it was late at night. Open the window, and the cleansed world is filled with a refreshing feeling. Frogs croak one after another outside the window, a full moon is in the sky, dotted with stars, and the remaining rain water slides down from the branches and leaves, moistening everything silently. Lu Beiran stretched, fell on the bed, and fell into a deep sleep. He had a dream in which he turned into Lu Junyu in the novel. It happened that the corrupt officials were in power, and the prime minister and the general colluded to put pressure on the empress. He used a little trick to expose the two people's conspiracy. After the empress sent him to prison, under the lotus tent, the jade feet hooked his chin and said in a charming voice, "What reward do you want?" Early in the morning, Lu Beiran woke up to the sound of a rooster crowing. He opened his sleepy eyes, turned on his mobile phone before washing up, and began to write furiously. Soon, 2,000 words were typed out. Dreams are like floating lights and phantoms, which are easily forgotten. Even if you recall them later, they are only scattered fragments, so he wants to record all the details before his memory becomes blurred. At this time, he also received the notification of listing. The editor had opened a VIP chapter. Beiran uploaded the manuscript and directly published 10,000 words. The next step is to wait for the result of the first order. At this point in time, the rule of singularity is that as long as 4,000 words are updated every day after the book is put on the shelves, there will be 500 full attendances. However, Beiran is obviously not going for the money. At this rate, he is confident that he can reach the level of a masterpiece or even higher. Chapter 9: You and Me Under the White Clouds. After finishing everything, Beiran simply washed up and left the bedroom. At this time, his parents had gone to work in the fields. There was prepared food in the kitchen, which only needed to be heated up before eating. When Beiran was a child, he often went to the fields with his parents, but after he entered junior high school, his parents stopped letting him go, saying that he should focus on his studies. Even if Beiran insisted, his parents still adhered to their principles and did not let him get involved in the mud in the fields. Beiran looked around his own small house, which had old furniture, a second-hand color TV whose screen flickered from time to time, no air conditioning, and only 2 worn-out electric fans. Wait until the royalties come in and buy some new furniture. Dad and Mom, you will be able to enjoy your life soon. Beiran thought that after finishing his meal, he would walk out of Donggang village and take the bus to the county, as he had other things to do today. At this time, he still had 500 yuan in his hand. Although it was not much, it was enough for a date with Xu Nianqing. Half an hour later, the bus stopped at a place in the county town. After getting off the bus, Beiran walked straight towards Xu Nianqing's residential area. When he arrived downstairs, he took out his mobile phone and started sending messages. Guess where I am? 20 seconds later, Xu Nianqing replied. Where are you? Beiran, I'm in your heart. Just after he sent the message, within 2 minutes he heard a thump 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 sound, and soon Xu Nianqing came in front of him. Today, Xu Nianqing still has her hair tied in a high ponytail and wears a white long skirt that reaches her knees. She has a pair of white sneakers on her feet. With her fair oval face, she looks youthful and has a sweet smile. Why are you staring at me? Xu Nianqing felt a little shy when Beiran looked at her. You are so shameless. Beiran laughed. What did you say? Xu Nianqing pouted, clenched her slender little hands into fists, and gestured to Beiran twice. I was clearly looking at a beautiful woman, but you were thinking I was looking at you. How shameless is that? Beiran was still smiling. TSK, why haven't I seen you talk so well before? Xu Nianqing curled her lips. I've told my mom, let's go. What? Your mother knows about us. Beiran looked shocked. What are you talking about? I told my mom that I went out to play with my classmates today. Of course, Beiran knew that with Xu Nianqing's personality, she would never tell her family before the relationship was confirmed. He also knew her family situation. Her parents ran a garment factory in the center of Jinli and were considered well-known wealthy businessmen in Jinli. Even in the whole Liucheng, they had a certain status. Therefore, for Beiran, who came from a poor family, Xu Nianqing's parents were a big test. After the two of them agreed, Xu Nianqing went upstairs again, and when she came down, she had a small shoulder bag hanging around her waist. Let's go, she said with a smile, and the two of them got on the bus to Jishan Scenic Area. Jishan Scenic Area is located in the southern part of Jinli. The southwest of the scenic area winds from Baiyun Mountain and Jingang Mountain to Jishan. Although the mountain is not high, it stands tall in the West Dongting Lake area, surrounded by green water and beautiful scenery. It is said that Meng Jianwen, separated from Jishan by a river, is the former residence of Meng Jiangyu of the Qin dynasty. Meng Jiangyu married Fan Lang of Jinli. Soon Fan Lang went to serve as a laborer to build the Great Wall and never returned. Meng Jiangyu often climbed to the top of Jishan to wait for her husband to return, so there is a waiting for husband platform on the top of the mountain. There is a round stone as flat as a mirror halfway up the mountain. Meng Jiangyu often combed her hair in front of the stone, so it is called the stone mirror. Li Rugi, the minister of works in the Ming dynasty, built the Meng Jiangyu martyrdom shrine on the top of the mountain. Jishan is the largest scenic spot in Jinli. When the two bought tickets to enter, there were already quite a few pedestrians at the foot of the mountain, most of them were couples traveling together. There are many vendors selling their wares at the door. They are very smart. Generally, for couples who come here, As long as they actively promote their products, if the girl is attracted, the boy will most likely pay for them. Lu Beiran bought some snacks, and the two of them ate while looking at the scenery as they walked up the mountain. An hour later, they arrived at the Jiangyu temple. Lu Beiran was in good physical condition and did not feel tired at all even after walking for an hour. However, Xu Nianqing beside him was a little out of breath, with sweat dripping down her fair skin. "Let's take a break," Lu Beiran suggested. Xu Nianqing shook her head. "Their husband-waiting rock is right in front of me. I can still hold on." After saying that, she gritted her teeth and made a cheering gesture. Lu Beiran looked at the arrogant Xu Nianqing with a doting smile. When the two arrived at Wangfu Rock, it also meant they had arrived at the top of Jishan Mountain. Looking down the mountain, the Lizhui River flows from north to south around the eastern foot of Jishan Mountain and into Dongting Lake. The vast expanse of reed marshes and pastoral scenery are all in sight. Xu Nianqing grew up in the city, and looking at the beautiful scenery, she couldn't help but be a little dazed. Lu Beiran stood aside and reached out to smooth her flowing hair. When her hand touched Xu Nianqing's forehead, she clearly felt the other party tremble, but did not stop. Lu Beiran turned her head and looked at her, and a faint blush had already covered the girl's cheeks. "Actually, I wanted to come here a long time ago, but I knew my parents were busy with work, and I felt that studying was more important, so I never made any plans," Xu Nianqing said lightly. "Well, do you think it's beautiful?" Lu Beiran asked. Xu Nianqing smiled and nodded, "Beautiful." But then a trace of sadness appeared in his eyes, but Meng Jiangyu was so pitiful. She died without seeing her husband. "So we should cherish the people in front of us even more," Lu Beiran said with a smile. "The person in front of you." Xu Nianqing kept thinking that she grew up under the care of her parents, who gave her everything she wanted. But as her family business grew bigger, the time her parents spent with her became less and less. However, she was very sensible and never complained. Even so, she would always feel a little gloomy whenever she thought about it. When she came to her senses, an angular face appeared in front of her, with the corners of his mouth raised and smiling wantonly. The sunlight cast a layer of golden glow on him, dispelling the dark haze in her heart. "The person in front of you is right in front of you." These words suddenly popped up in her mind, and she lowered her head in silence. "Okay, let's go to the ancestral hall," Lu Beiran said, holding Xu Nianqing's hand and walking towards the ancestral hall. Xu Nianqing was slightly startled, and just let him pull her as she followed Lu Beiran's footsteps. The sunlight made his shadow long and slender. Xu Nianqing kept stepping on it with her feet, making goose, goose, goose sounds from her mouth. The cafeteria has lunch, and there are many varieties for tourists to choose from. Xu Nianqing looked at the prices, which were basically 10 yuan and above. Then, looking at Lu Beiran who was about to pay, she reached out and grabbed his wrist, smiling and said, "Let me do it. It just so happens that I have nowhere to spend the pocket money my dad gave me." Lu Beiran shrugged and did not refuse. He knew that Xu Nianqing didn't want him to spend any more money. If he refused at this time, it would make the girl's gentle heart feel uncomfortable and create an awkward situation. After they finished their meal and rested for a quarter of an hour, they left Jiangyu Temple. It was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It is now early summer in May. The days are long and the sky is high, blue and clear like the sea. Occasionally, a few thin clouds float by, leisurely and casual. On the mountain road, the two shadows gradually overlapped, and occasionally collided slightly, as if they were laughing and playing. Before long, the positions of my palms unconsciously became connected like clouds in the sky. Chapter 10 College Entrance Examination. Just like that, the two of them established a relationship naturally. For Lu Beiran, who had many years of social experience, he was already confident about this. But it was different for Xu Nianqing. After she returned home, her heart kept beating wildly and the blush on her cheeks had not yet completely faded. Lin Wanqiu, the mother standing by, felt something was strange. After asking, Xu Nianqing just said that she went out with her classmates. However, as a woman, her sixth sense still made her smell something different. In their minds, Xu Nianqing had always been a good girl, and no one would hide anything from her. However, she did not ask any further questions, but just planned to find time to talk to her husband. Lu Beiran looked calm when he returned home, and even bought an old hen from the Jinli vegetable market. When I got home, smoke was already rising from the chimney on the roof, and my mother Zhang Haixia had started cooking. Why did you buy a chicken? Don't you have one at home? What a waste. Zhang Haixia scolded. Liu Beiran didn't say anything, just laughed, hee hee. The old hen had been processed at the market and he only needed to stew it. When the meal was served, my father came home on his electric bike. After finishing his meal, Liu Beiran immediately ran into the bedroom and opened Singularity Reading to check the first order status. As soon as I opened it, I saw the floating screen at the top of the software saying, like a poem and painting. I rewarded the domineering female lord falls in love with me with 1 million points, becoming a silver ally of this book. Fuck. Liu Beiran blurted out a Chinese quintessence, 1 million points, which is 10,000 yuan. The previous rewards were relatively scattered, and he also knew that female readers were generous, but he was still a little surprised to directly give a silver alliance. After the other party gave the reward, he left a message in the comments section. Hee hee, here comes the silver alliance. Come on, Mr. Liu. Without saying a word, Liu Beiran published another 10,000 words from his saved manuscripts and added the words thanks to Miss Wan Ruoshahor for the reward from the Silver Alliance at the end of the chapter title. At present, the first order has reached 3,200, reaching the level of high-quality products. This is actually within his expectations, so he does not have too much psychological fluctuations. So it's time for happy coding again. The weekend passed quickly. Apart from chatting with Xunyanqing, Liu Beiran just hid in his room typing. As for reviewing, it was not necessary for him now. He would think about it when he went to school. It was a good opportunity to deepen his relationship with Xunyanqing. He didn't care about the last PK with Yu Jianhua and others. Even when he was asked about it later, it was the other party who started the fight first. According to the law, he was acting in legitimate defense. He didn't finish off the guys after knocking them down because he didn't want to be accused of excessive defense. When Liu Beiran returned to the number 1 middle school classroom again, most of his classmates had arrived. He sat at his desk and found that Yu Jianhua and others glanced at him from time to time. He raised his head to look at them, but they avoided his gaze. Sure enough, only magic can fight magic. People like Yu Jianhua have never experienced the hardships of society. They usually just brag and bully their classmates in school. If they really meet a tough guy, they will become soft. Liu Wenwen seemed to be looking at Liu Beiran with fear because of his behavior last time. Now that things had come to this, the school beauty no longer thought about it and only wanted to graduate quickly and stay away from Liu Beiran. After that incident, Yu Jianhua and his friends became well behaved. They no longer bothered their classmates and usually avoided Liu Beiran on purpose. The cousin they mentioned before no longer existed. Liu Beiran has already written a lot of manuscripts at home. Now he just needs to find time to write a little bit and then wait for the payment at the end of the month. He began to take the initiative to ask Xunyanqing for advice on the subject, and Xunyanqing also enjoyed it. The storm subsided and everything returned to calm. During a break, Liu Beiran just came back from the toilet and ran into his English teacher Lin Yu, who was holding review materials. Hello. Liu Beiran took the initiative to greet. It's classmate Liu Beiran. I've seen you studying hard recently. The teacher is also very happy. Keep up the good work. Lin Yu responded with a smile, but Liu Beiran could clearly see that her eyes were visibly swollen, as if she had been baptized by tears. Liu Beiran did not ask in detail. After all, in school, it was quite strange for a student to take the initiative to care about the teacher, and his relationship with Xunyanqing was gradually stabilizing. But he already had a rough guess in his mind. As for why he wanted to help Lin Yu, it was obviously impossible to say that he was just seeing injustice. Maybe it's the gaze staring at the classroom door in class, or the umbrella held in the rain outside the school. Sometimes, life and death are just a matter of a thought. There is less than a month left until the college entrance examination. Lin Yu must have had some relationship problems with her boyfriend, and there are still 2 months before her suicide. For now, she can focus on her studies. In my previous life, my grades were pretty good, but my mood for the college entrance examination was affected by my father's accident, which resulted in my poor performance. I was admitted to the business school, although I didn't go in the end. The knowledge points are still in my mind. In this life, I will definitely go to college, but the grade of the school is not that important. For me, it is just a stepping stone to make up for the regret of not going to college in my previous life. The management of second-tier colleges is much more relaxed than those top universities, and I will have more room to display my abilities. Back in the classroom, Xu Nianqing was sitting in her seat reviewing when she suddenly felt a force pulling the ponytail at the back of her head. She immediately rolled her eyes. "Aren't you bored?" Xu Nianqing said helplessly. "As long as you are here, every moment is never boring," Liu Beiran said with a smile. "TSK, it seems you are really bored," Xu Nianqing said. The breeze outside the window blew up a few strands of hair on his forehead, revealing a flower-like smile. Liu Beiran stretched out his hand and stroked it. "So beautiful." Xu Nianqing's cheeks flushed slightly as she continued to review without stopping Liu Beiran's actions. The classmates around her were all shocked when they saw this. It is recognized by everyone that Xu Nianqing is the school belle, but in this scene, is it that Liu Beiran has succeeded in pursuing her? Yu Jianhua and others also noticed it, and they couldn't help but grit their teeth and swear in their hearts that they would never be bootlickers again in their lives. But they naturally didn't dare to cause trouble for Liu Beiran again. The combination of punches he used last time was still vivid in their minds. Whenever they thought of it, a buzzing sound would appear in their minds. Soon, the news of Liu Beiran and Xu Nianqing's love affair spread throughout the campus. They were both adults and were about to leave school, so the school would not interfere too much as long as no trouble arose in the school. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, it is the day of college entrance examination. Many parents of students came to the outside of the school, some holding banners to cheer for their children. This is also a time to test the students' learning outcomes over the past few years. Liu Beiran was sitting in the examination room. He found that after his rebirth, his vague high school memories from his previous life became clearer. This must be the benefit of a time traveler. Although I don't have the system like in the novel, novels are not reality after all, and I still have to walk my own path. During this period, I have also reviewed seriously with Xu Nianqing, and I am not afraid of the exam. As long as I perform steadily, I will have no problem getting into the second-tier university. As for top universities such as 985 and 211, they are not within my consideration. Chapter 11 Meeting the Parents. A banner reading, 100-day sprint for college entrance examination, make a concerted effort to create brilliance, was hung at the entrance of the examination room. The students inside the examination room were concentrating fully, looking as if they were the only ones who could win the title. The parents were waiting outside with hope in their hearts, and every day felt like a year, and every second was torture. Only when the bell rang at the end did his tense expression gradually relax, but then he frowned again, seeming a little nervous, yet a little expectant. Liu Beiran walked out of the examination room and looked at the bustling crowd outside. It was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The red setting sun hung in the sky like a brilliant silk. As the first day of the exam came to an end, candidates gradually walked out of the exam room. Some were smiling, looking relaxed and confident, while others were frowning and looking sad, as if they were upset because they did not perform well. But that's how life is, water flows and flowers fall, no one will wait for anyone, some opportunities only come once, if you miss them, you can never get them again. Originally, his parents were going to come and pick him up, but Liu Beiran told them on the phone to just wait at home. After all, this was not a big deal for him, just a turning point in his life. Not long after, a graceful figure walked out of the examination room and headed straight towards Liu Beiran. Xu Nianqing was wearing a white long dress today. Her white shoes lightly stepped on the ground. She jumped and skipped, as if she was strolling in a sea of flowers. Every step was charming. Liu Beiran suddenly felt that this was the youth he had missed countless times in his previous life. When Xu Nianqing walked in, Liu Beiran greeted her with a smile and said, "You're in such a good mood. It seems you've performed well." Xu Nianqing raised her chin, snorted proudly, and said, "What about you? How did you do in the exam?" As for me, Liu Beiran raised his head, pretending to be in deep thought, and then said, "My goal is not high anyway, I just want to get into a second-tier university." Xu Nianqing curled her lips when she heard this. "I also want you to take the entrance exam for Xiangnan University with me." Hearing what you said, it seems that it is stable, Liu Beiran said with a smile. Xu Nianqing did not respond, but just smiled faintly. The afterglow of the setting sun shone on her fair cheeks, casting a hazy halo on her whole body, like an angel who had fallen into the world. Liu Beiran reached out his hand and touched Xu Nianqing's forehead with an indulgent smile on his face. Xu Nianqing did not refuse. Suddenly, her face was stunned, and then she looked shy, pursed her lips and lowered her head. "What's wrong?" Why are you suddenly shy? Lu Beiran asked with a smile. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, his eyes widened, and he turned around slowly and mechanically. Behind him was a middle-aged man with strong features, who was also standing there in a daze, looking into his eyes in disbelief. Xu Nianqing trotted forward, grabbed the corner of her father Xu Jiongwo's clothes, gently pulled it, and whispered, "Dad, didn't I tell you to wait for me at home?" Xu Jiongwo felt like he was struck by lightning at this moment. He had originally wanted to give his daughter a surprise, but ended up seeing this scene. He stared at Lu Beiran, then looked at Xu Nianqing, and then let out a long sigh. 10 minutes later, in a restaurant outside the examination room, Xu Jiongwo and Xu Nianqing sat on one side, while Lu Beiran sat opposite them. No one spoke and the atmosphere was a bit awkward. "When will you?" After a long time, Xu Jiongwo spoke to break the silence. Although Lu Beiran had had several relationships in his previous life, this was the first time he met his parents. The experience from his previous life had already trained him to have strong psychological abilities, so he did not feel nervous at all about this kind of situation. But what happened today was indeed beyond his expectations. But now that things have come to this, he must first calm Xu Nianqing's father down, and then slowly make him accept himself. His mind was spinning rapidly. Lu Beiran half lowered his head and said softly, "Uncle, since you have seen it, there is no need for us to hide it from you." "What? You're planning to keep it a secret from me?" Xu Jiongwo turned his head and glanced at Xu Nianqing, and found that she was still keeping her head down and silent, with her cheeks flushed. Girls can't be kept at home when they grow up. Xu Jiongwo sighed in his heart and asked, "When did you start?" "Xiaoqing and I have been deskmates for 3 years. We usually take care of each other." "Uncle, you know that there are all kinds of students in the school. Xiaoqing is pretty, and her classmates often harass her. You can tolerate this, but I can't, so I acted as a protector. Gradually, Xiaoqing and I fell in love with each other, so on a sunny day, we finally opened up to each other." All right. Xu Jiongwo stretched out his hand to interrupt Lu Beiran's words, suppressing his anger. He looked at Xu Nianqing beside him, silently repeating, my biological child," in his heart, and said, "Xiaoqing, is that so?" Xu Nianqing nodded without saying anything. "Then you guys." Xu Jiongwo hesitated to speak. "Uncle, Xiaoqing and I are both very traditional people. We won't do anything out of line before we get married. Please rest assured about this." Lu Beiran patted his chest and said, "Well." Xu Jiongwo sighed again in his heart. Looking at her daughter beside her, she found that she had raised her head, her blush faded, and she was smiling as she looked at Lu Beiran in front of her. Last time, his wife Lin Wanqiu mentioned Xu Nianqing's abnormality to him, but Xu Nianqing's sensible appearance had already been deeply engraved in his heart. He just asked his wife not to be suspicious, let alone ask questions actively, and let his daughter study hard for the exam. He knew that he was busy with work and usually had little time to spend with Xu Nianqing. His daughter was also sensible, so he never complained. Today, he finally found some time and wanted to give his daughter a surprise, but he didn't expect to see this scene. When Lu Beiran saw Xu Jiongwo's look, he understood the helplessness of being a father. If I force them to separate and my daughter quarrels with me, maybe there will be rift between them. But how can I feel at ease if I just leave it alone? Xiaolu, what do your parents do for a living? Xu Jiongwo asked. My parents are farmers and live in Donggang village. My father usually goes to the county town to work on construction sites. Lu Beiran responded frankly. Xu Jiongwo frowned even deeper when he heard this. Xu Nianqing enjoyed the meal very much. He had originally planned to confess to his parents after the exam, but he didn't expect to be caught by his father. Lu Beiran's explanation just now was very well organized, and he didn't feel any discomfort about meeting his parents. As for whether what he said was true or false, it doesn't matter. Maybe he had already planned all of this in his mind. As she thought about it and smelled the delicious food, her appetite grew. Xu Jiongwo, who was standing by, felt like he was chewing wax, like a fishbone stuck in his throat, like a thorn in his back. Lu Beiran looked at Xu Jiongwo, picked up the teacup, and said with a smile, Uncle, I toast you a cup. Oh, okay. Xu Jiongwo looked a little dazed. His years of social experience made him subconsciously pick up the cup and approach Lu Beiran. At the moment when the teacups were about to touch, Lu Beiran deliberately moved down a few centimeters. I want one too. Xu Nianqing picked up the cup with a smile and clinked it with his. The meal lasted a long time. During the meal, Xu Jiongwo kept asking about Liu Beiran's family situation. Liu Beiran talked freely, and his previous shyness completely disappeared, replaced by a touch of confidence and composure. Chapter 12, Laughing at the Various Aspects of Life. When Liu Beiran returned home, it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. His mother Zhang Haixia was leaning on a rattan chair at the door. The cool breeze of the summer night was very comfortable. She was swaying with a palm leaf fan in her hand. Liu Beiran walked closer and heard the faint buzzing of mosquitoes around them. He waved his hand to shoo away the mosquitoes, and said with a smile, "Mom, you didn't go in to watch TV." Zhang Haixia raised her head after hearing this, sat up from the rattan chair, and said, "Come out and get some fresh air." Liu Beiran smiled but said nothing. He had already called home in advance to tell them he was having dinner outside, and he knew his mother was waiting for him. When Zhang Haixia saw Liu Beiran coming back, she sat up from the rattan chair, and Liu Beiran immediately moved the rattan chair into their house. Father Liu Qinchuan was watching TV in the house. When he saw Liu Beiran, he said, "Glad that you're back." "Yes, Dad." Liu Beiran responded simply. He knew that his father was a serious man who had not read many books, but he still cared about him very much in his heart. Liu Beiran took a shower, then put the melon seeds and peanuts he bought from the county town on the table for the two elders to enjoy. After exchanging a few words of greeting, he returned to the bedroom. "Today is June 6th, and the royalties chart has come out, and I have earned a total of 30,000 yuan. This is undoubtedly a huge sum of money for him now, and he is just waiting for it to be paid out on the 10th. On the other side, Xu Jiongwo brought Xu Nianqing back home. Along the way, he asked his daughter about her well-being. He suddenly wondered if he didn't pay enough attention to his daughter. After returning home, Mother Lin Wanqiu was wearing silk pajamas and sitting on the sofa watching TV. When she saw them come back, she hurriedly took out the freshly cut fruit from the refrigerator. "Thank you, Mom," Xu Nianqing said with a smile. Looking at his happy daughter, Xu Jiongwo felt a warm feeling in his heart. At this time, Lin Wanqiu said while chewing an apple, "By the way, I was shopping outside with Sister Wu today, and his son was there too. He is a top student at Yarncheng Medical University and he looks good too. I was thinking." Xu Nianqing's beautiful eyes widened immediately and she looked at her father beside her. "Don't think about it." Xu Jiongwo stopped Lin Wanqiu and said, "Let the child figure out her own affairs. As parents, we just need to be her strong support as long as she doesn't go astray. Hey, I don't usually see you so concerned. You only care about work and socializing. What's wrong with me helping my daughter look for someone?" Lin Wanqiu muttered. Okay. Xu Jiongwo looked at Xu Nianqing beside him with a gentle expression. "My dear daughter, you must be tired after a day of exams. Go take a bath and go to bed." "Okay, Dad," Xu Nianqing nodded with a smile, and then looked at her mother Lin Wanqiu beside her. "Mom, don't think about it anymore, I will have my own plans, go to bed early." After Xu Nianqing left, Lin Wanqiu whispered to her husband, "Jiongwo, have you noticed that Xiaoqing has indeed changed? You didn't believe me last time I told you that. How could she be so happy at home before?" When Xu Jiongwo heard this, Liu Beiran's figure popped up in his mind again, and he shook his head quickly. "I just asked, maybe she did well in the exam, so don't let your imagination run wild." Xu Jiongwo patted his wife's arm gently. Okay, I'll go to the room to take care of some work." Xu Jiongwo left after he finished speaking. Lin Wanqiu, who was standing by, always felt something was strange. Her daughter was acting a little abnormal, and now her husband seemed to be wrong too. But she didn't think too much about it. After all, she had been in love with her husband for 20 years and she had watched her daughter grow up. If there was really something big, she believed that they would not hide it from her. But Sister Wu's child is indeed in good conditions. The other party's family is considered wealthy in Jinli, and is a good match for her own family. They are also close, so it will be convenient for her to take care of her daughter in the future. No, I have to go and check it again. The next morning, Liu Beiran went out early. It was slightly bright at this time, and there were still some stars in the night sky at dawn, which set off Liu Beiran's young and strong figure, giving a feeling that the stars did not care about the travelers. On the bus to Jinli County, he opened QQ and sent a message to Xu Nianqing. "Little lazy pig, wake up." Soon, Xu Nianqing replied. I got up early, pighead. Lu Beiran, kiss Xu Nianqing, so disgusting. Xu Nianqing got up and washed. Her parents also got up at this time. Lin Wanqiu looked at Xu Nianqing with a smile on her face, but she was still confused. After Xu Jiongwo finished washing up, he took Xu Nianqing downstairs. Lin Wanqiu told them to be careful and went back to sleep. After going downstairs, Xu Jiongwo just drove his BMW 3 Series out of the community and saw a young man outside with 2 bags in his hands, looking in his direction with a smile. Damn! This kid! Xu Jiongwo reluctantly took his foot off the accelerator, drove the car to Lu Beiran's side, opened the window and motioned for him to get in. As soon as he got in the car, Lu Beiran handed one of the bags to Xu Jiongwo. Uncle, I bought you steamed buns. How did this boy know that I like to eat steamed buns? Xu Jiongwo was puzzled, then he looked at Xu Nianqing and suddenly understood. Thank you for your thoughtfulness, Beiran. Xu Jiongwo said with a smile, and then looked upstairs of the house. He felt relieved when he found that his wife was not looking there, and started the car to go to the No. 1 middle school examination venue. He felt that he had to find an opportunity to talk to his wife. He knew his wife's character very well and there was no way she would accept Lu Beiran, a man from the countryside. Etc. Why do I think so? I don't plan to accept this guy. Glancing at the rearview mirror, she saw Xu Nianqing happily eating the breakfast Lu Beiran brought her, while Lu Beiran, who was sitting next to her, was looking at his daughter tenderly. Well. After arriving at the examination room, Lu Beiran and Xu Nianqing said goodbye to Xu Jiongwo and went in together. Xu Jiongwo drove to the company as he had a lot of official business to deal with today. There were still many parents gathered outside the examination hall today, but their expressions were much calmer than yesterday. The candidates entered the hall in an orderly manner, ready to start the final battle. Relying on the knowledge in his mind, Lu Beiran did the test paper in an orderly manner. The questions were no different from his previous life, so it was not a problem for him to get into a business school. Soon, he finished the test paper and stopped writing. He looked around and saw many candidates who were so nervous that they were scratching their heads. He smiled, because he was once one of them. The weather is very good today. A golden sun is embedded in the blue sky. White clouds are floating in the clear sky like a lone sail on the blue sea. Until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when the bell rang to signal the end of the college entrance examination, the examination room was quiet at first, then there was a slight commotion, and soon, bursts of cheers broke out. One by one, the candidates rushed out of the examination hall, feeling happy that the exams were over but also full of hope for the future. Then they stopped and looked at the campus where they had spent 3 years, a touch of sadness lingering in their hearts. 3 years have passed in a flash. Some classmates who used to quarrel with me on weekdays can no longer be seen together. So many students made plans to have dinner together tonight, or go to an internet cafe together and stay up all night, while some went home with their parents. Lu Beiran stood outside the examination room, looking at the various aspects of life in front of him. A faint smile appeared on his face. Chapter 13, Sadness Flows Backward. After Lu Beiran had a brief chat with Xu Nianqing, he returned home. Originally, Xu Nianqing planned to ask his father to give Lu Beiran a ride, but Lu Beiran smiled and waved his hand to refuse. He knew what Xu's father was thinking. He should give him some time to accept himself. If he kept showing off in front of him with a shameless face, it would easily backfire. After returning home, Lu Beiran finished his meal, took a shower, and started his pleasant writing time. Time flies, 3 days have passed, and it is time to pay the manuscript fee. Before dawn, Lu Beiran looked at the 30,000 yuan in his bank card. Without any hesitation, he said hello to his parents and quickly left Donggang village and got on the bus to the county town. Early in the morning, a small truck was pulling a pile of furniture. The driver drove leisurely while Lu Beiran sat in the passenger seat. At this time, Lu Qinchuan and Zhang Haixia had just returned from the fields and were preparing to have breakfast. They were startled when they saw the vehicle parked in front of their small house. It wasn't until Lu Beiran got out of the car that he felt relieved, but then he looked confused again. Lu Beiran walked up to his parents and said with a smile, "Dad, Mom, I bought some new furniture and plan to replace the old furniture at home." Lu Qinchuan and Zhang Haixia looked at each other, and Lu Qinchuan was the first to react and asked, "Son, where did you get the money to buy furniture?" Lu Beiran smiled and said, "I forgot to tell you, I've been writing a novel recently and made some money." Novel? The two were not unfamiliar with this term, but they usually only heard about it on TV and in newspapers. This identity was too far away for them. Beiran saw the confusion in his parents' eyes and continued, "Your son is a college student. What's the big deal about him writing some novels? He will make a lot of money for you to enjoy in the future." After hearing this, the two of them stopped thinking about it, and Lu Qingchuan also helped move the furniture into their house. Zhang Haixia smiled and kept repeating, "My son has made it, my son has made it." Lu Beiran bought 2 new electric fans, an LCD TV, and a refrigerator. After moving the furniture in, Lu Beiran gave some second-hand furniture to the driver for recycling. After the truck left, Zhang Haixia asked, "Son, you bought so much, how much did you earn?" "Not much, just a few thousand yuan." Lu Beiran responded. He didn't tell the truth because tens of thousands of yuan was a year's income for his parents. If he told the truth, his parents might start to have wild thoughts again. "But I don't plan to keep it a secret forever. Once I settle my family, I will start thinking about ways to make money." Liucheng is a small 4th-tier city and is not suitable for his development. Xingcheng is a good choice. Although it is still a 2nd-tier city at this point in time, it has a large TV station like Mango TV. It will attract many investors in the future and he will have more room for development. Lu Qingchuan and Zhang Haixia were very happy today. Zhang Haixia even picked some cabbages from the field and distributed them to the neighbors. While doing so, she told them that her son had made money by writing novels, her eyes full of pride. Qin Yu was sitting in a room in a residential complex in Liucheng. She was from Xingcheng and rented a house after coming to Liucheng to teach. At this time, she was sitting at the desk. Her bedroom was very tidy, but the teaching materials on the table were a little messy. Her eyes were red and swollen, as if she had just cried. She opened her cell phone and found a contact named Jin Xiang at the top of her QQ account. After hesitating for a while, she sent a message to the other party. "Why don't you reply to the message?" After sending the message, he threw his phone on the table, lowered his head, and his hair was disheveled. Ding! The cell phone rang. Qin Yu immediately raised her head and hurriedly picked up the phone. Due to her hasty movement, she accidentally knocked over the water cup beside her. Pure water spilled on the table, reflecting a sad face. Some of it spilled on her clothes, but Qin Yu didn't care at all, her eyes were fixed on her phone. "Jin Xiang, Xiaoye, I told you, I still love you." Qin Yu immediately began to type. "Who was the woman next to you before?" "Jin Xiang, I've already said that she and I are just friends. I'm not saying anything bad about you, but why are you always so suspicious? How can I get along with you in the future?" Qin Yu, har, do you really think I will believe it? "Jin Xiang, anyway, this is the truth. I can't help it if you don't believe me. Do you want me to dig out my heart for you to see?" After seeing the message, Qin Yu's hands trembled slightly. She slowly typed, "Let's break up," on the screen. Just as she was about to press the send button, her eyes closed and her teeth clenched. The information was then deleted. A faint sob could be heard from the room. Sunlight poured in from the window, refracting through the mist that had not yet completely dissipated, making Qin Yu's back look particularly lonely. Not long after, Qin Yu raised his head, his face calm, picked up his mobile phone and made a call. "Dad, are you okay?" "Don't worry, I'm fine." "Mom, don't work too hard and take care of yourself." Half an hour later, she left the room. Walking up the stairs, she began to recall the past. She and Jin Xiang were classmates when they were studying in Xingcheng. He had been pursuing her vigorously while they were in school, but she was focused on the postgraduate entrance examination at the time and had no intention of falling in love. But Jin Xiang's breakfast every morning and good night before bed still touched me. So we decided to try it together. She is quite traditional in her thinking, and the two of them have only held hands. Jin Xiang has hinted at her many times, but she has rejected them all. Some things can only be done after marriage. Gradually, she also fell in love with this man. She came to Liucheng No. 1 Middle School, while Jin Xiang continued to work in Xingcheng. The two were together less often than they were apart, but their contact was always easy. Last month, I bought a new suit and was about to give it to my boyfriend as a surprise when I saw a scene that I will never forget. At that moment, she felt like she was falling into an ice cellar. All the sounds around her disappeared. She did not disturb him, but hid aside, took out her cell phone and sent a message to ask what the other party was doing. When she received the message, "I'm at work, what's the matter? Did you miss me?" she quickly left, threw the clothes in her hands into the river, and began to cry loudly, venting all her grievances at this moment. When her thoughts returned to reality, she had already reached the top step. After opening the door, the breeze blew up her messy hair, and her face turned pale. She walked forward slowly, looking at the high-rise buildings lined up under the roof and the pedestrians coming and going, and suddenly she felt so insignificant. If I had insisted on not agreeing at the beginning, the result would not have been like this. She thought about it with a wry smile. Then a hint of determination emerged. "Close your eyes. Dad and Mom, your daughter will honor you in the next life." Ding-ling. At this time, the cell phone rang. Chinyu opened his eyes and after hesitating for a while, he took out his cell phone from his pocket. "Student Lu Beiran, Teacher Chin, I have a professional question I would like to ask you." Chapter 14, After the Storm, Flowers Bloom. Chinyu frowned slightly, with a puzzled look on her face. "I know Lu Beiran well as a student and have encouraged him many times, hoping that he can change his personality. But things did seem to have changed in the past 2 months, and it was completely beyond my normal perception of Lu Beiran. But now that the college entrance examination was over, what questions did he have to ask me?" However, Lu Beiran's question brought Chinyu back to her sad thoughts. She slowly took 2 steps back and began to reply. "What problem do you want to ask me, Mr. Lu?" Lu Beiran, who was far away in Donggang village, felt relieved after seeing the message. In his previous life, Chinyu committed suicide a month before his college entrance examination, and he had already discovered that something was wrong with her last month. He wondered if she would change because of his rebirth. It was always a good idea to be ahead of schedule. Without further hesitation, he began typing. "Teacher, is it convenient for us to meet and chat?" Chinyu became more and more confused, but now that the college entrance examination was over, she was also in a period of rest, and she usually had a good impression of Lu Beiran. "Yeah, okay." Chinyu replied. After seeing the message, Lu Beiran said hello to his parents without any hesitation and set off. An hour later, he arrived at a residential area according to the address Chinyu gave. When Chinyu went downstairs, Lu Beiran immediately noticed her change. "Teacher, what's wrong with you?" Lu Beiran asked. Chinyu shook her head and forced a smile. "Teacher, I'm fine. Thank you, Mr. Lu, for your concern. I don't want to say it, but it seems like it's a big deal." Lu Beiran thought about it and continued, "Teacher, it's already noon. I'll treat you to a meal and ask you a few questions." "Let the teacher treat you. How can a student pay for it?" Chinyu smiled. She knew Lu Beiran's family situation. Lu Beiran did not refuse again, and the two found a restaurant. Lu Beiran asked the English questions he had prepared in advance, and Chinyu patiently answered them. Lu Beiran made a few jokes from time to time, which made Chinyu purse her lips. After the meal, she seemed to feel better. After they finished their meal, Lu Beiran spoke again. "Teacher, now that I'm here, I made some money writing novels recently, and I want to buy something for my parents, but you know, I don't usually go out, so I hope you can be my tour guide." Chinyu nodded and agreed when she heard this. She had no reason to refuse. So the two of them went shopping in the mall in Liucheng. Lu Beiran bought a few clothes and some health products, and forced Chinyu to buy one. When Chinyu tried on the new t-shirt, Lu Beiran smiled and said, "It looks really good. I wonder which man will be so lucky in the future to marry you, Teacher Chin." Chinyu was stunned, lowered her head silently, pursed her lips and smiled. Student Lu has learned to joke. After buying things, Lu Beiran suggested taking a walk around Liucheng, saying that he hadn't had a good look around it in all these years. Chinyu didn't refuse. After all, helping classmates was also a responsibility for her. Time passed quietly, and in a blink of an eye it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Lu Beiran was carrying a bunch of bags as he strolled along the bank of the Liucheng River with Chinyu. Willow trees were lined up in a row, their branches swaying in the breeze. Lu Beiran pointed at the willow tree and said, "Teacher Chin, you see the branches and leaves of these trees are always moving. Do you know what they are thinking?" Chinyu was a little slow to react, and said, "From the moment the willow tree took root, it was destined to stay here for the rest of its life. It had no choice." "Yeah, they don't have a choice, but humans do." Lu Beiran turned his head and said, "Teacher, are you worried about something recently? No, no. Qin Yu still shook her head. She didn't intend to pass on her negative emotions to this student. In fact, I've noticed it a long time ago. Lu Beiran said leisurely, Teacher, you have been in a bad mood since last month. You must have encountered some troubles. You are so filial, it should not be a family problem, it must be a relationship problem. Qin Yu. She didn't expect that the student in front of her analyzed everything so well. She immediately lowered her head and said, softly. At this moment, she had completely lost her previous indifference, and her eyes were full of sadness. Lu Beiran turned his head and looked at her, but Qin Yu hurriedly looked away, as if she didn't want the student to see her embarrassed side. It's because of my own personal affairs. After a long while, Qin Yu spoke. Lu Beiran nodded secretly in his heart when he heard this. Since Qin Yu was willing to say it out, things would be easy. Oh? I want to know who is so blind that he dares to make you sad. Lu Beiran said, showing his fist, I'll beat him so hard that his mother won't recognize him. Poochie. Qin Yu couldn't help laughing, then realized that she had lost her composure and covered her lips again. Buy some flowers, Auntie. At this time, a little girl came running from a distance, holding a bunch of roses in her hands. Qin Yu smiled dotingly at this. Just as she was about to speak, Lu Beiran stepped forward first, picked up a rose, and frowned. Little friend, your flowers are all withered. The little girl shook her head like a rattle. No, no, I just picked this flower, how could it wither? Then there is only my sister here, where did the aunt come from? Lu Beiran asked with a smile. The little girl realized it and said immediately, Yes, it's my sister, my beautiful sister. Lu Beiran touched the little girl's head and said, You are such a good kid. I want all your flowers. Go home early to eat. Your family is waiting for you. Thank you, brother. The little girl handed the flowers to Lu Beiran and left with a smile. Qin Yu looked at the little girl's back with a big smile on her face. Yes, my family is still waiting for me to go back for dinner. She suddenly felt that she hadn't been home for some time. When I came to my senses, a bouquet of roses was handed to me. Our classmate Lu, this. Qin Yu looked at the rose in front of her, a little nervous. Teacher, what are you thinking about? Lu Beiran raised the package in his hand and said, Do you think I still have hands? Oh, okay. Qin Yu finally reacted and quickly took the rose. The faint fragrance of the flower wafted to her face, and Lin Yu felt more and more happy. Teacher, tell me about yourself. Lu Beiran put the package aside, leaned his arm on the railing by the river, and spoke lightly. The setting sun in the evening shone on the horizon, splashing up red clouds. The surface of the Liucheng River was constantly rolling with waves under the breeze, just like Qin Yu's mood, with ripples forming layer by layer. Qin Yu suddenly felt that the student in front of him seemed to have grown up. Good. Half an hour later, Lu Beiran nodded. Are you feeling better now? He asked. Well, thank you, Lu Beiran. Qin Yu smiled and said, If it weren't for you, maybe. There is no maybe. Lu Beiran interrupted Qin Yu and placed his hand on the rose in Lin Yu's hand. Since you have made a choice, you should live a good life. What happened before is in the past. People should always look forward. Yes, you are right. My parents are still waiting for me to take care of them in their old age. Qin Yu suddenly smiled. But then I felt regretful again. I almost left this world just now. Okay, teacher, I'm leaving now. Lu Beiran said. Well, I'll take you there. The two walked side by side until Lu Beiran got on the bus to Donggang village. Qin Yu then remembered something and hurriedly asked, Lu Beiran, your flowers. Teacher, she is yours now. Lu Beiran said, and suddenly shouted at the top of his voice. After the storm, the flowers bloom. Chapter 15. A good day starts with breakfast. When Qin Yu returned home, it was already completely dark. The room was very quiet. The early summer night was a little hot. She picked up the air conditioner remote control and pressed the power button. As the switch is turned on, the air conditioner blades open, sending out cool air. The room quickly becomes cool and refreshing. Qin Yu played Luo Daio's Story of Time on QQ Music, and then leaned back in his chair, looking relaxed, thinking about what Lu Beiran said to him before he left. Ding-ling. At this time, the cell phone rang. Qin Yu came back to his senses, picked up his phone and opened QQ. Jin Xiang, Xiao Yu, I've thought about it for a long time. I still love you. I was wrong this time, but you have to believe that even if I'm with her, you're still the one I think of in my heart. Qin Yu raised the corner of her mouth slightly and began to reply. Roll. After sending it, I pressed the delete key without any hesitation. Leaning back in her chair again, she felt extremely relaxed and happy like never before. When Liu Beiran returned home, it was already 7:30 in the evening. He had already called home in the car to tell them that they didn't need to wait for him for dinner, as he had already finished outside. But his parents were still surprised when they saw him carrying a lot of bags. Xiaoran, why are you buying so many things again? Your father and I don't need them, said Mother Zhang Haixiar. Liu Beiran smiled and said, Mom, you and my dad have been wearing those clothes for several years. It's time to change them. And this is the bird's nest I bought for you. It's good for your beauty. Then he picked up another bag. This is the monk fruit I bought for my dad. He loves smoking, and it can moisten his throat and clear his lungs. My son is thoughtful. Liu Qinchuan smiled, looking pleased. The two elders did not think about how much Liu Beiran would achieve in the future, they just hoped that he could live a good life. In fact, they had saved some money over the years, intending to use it for Liu Beiran's marriage. They were only proud that their son made money by writing novels, but they did not ask too many questions, let alone interfere with his son's thoughts, as long as he did not go astray. Liu Beiran was well aware of this. If he gave his parents money directly, they would definitely not take it. Even if they took it, they would save it for him. So it would be better to give him something substantial. Anyway, I had already bought it, so I couldn't return it, right? He returned to the bedroom and turned on his phone. Xu Nianqing had sent him a message 10 minutes ago. Pig, what are you doing? Liu Beiran replied with a smile. Thinking of you. Xu Nianqing, TSK, here you go again, I won't believe you. Liu Beiran, then you are also a cute ghost. Xu Nianqing, my mother cooked a large table of dishes for me today. Picture, what did you do today? Of course Liu Beiran couldn't tell the truth. If he told Xu Nianqing that he had spent the whole day with another woman just to help her walk from darkness to dawn, and finally gave her a bouquet of roses and said goodbye with a smile, that would be a big deal. He replied, I went to Liucheng today, had dinner with a friend, bought a lot of things for my parents, and talked about our ideals in life. Finally, I met a little girl selling flowers. I bought her flowers and hope she can go home soon. Picture. Liu Beiran had taken the photos of the flowers in advance. Although he had no other thoughts about Lin Yu, he couldn't lie to Xu Nianqing. After all, one lie requires a bunch of lies to cover it up. But how much to say depends on the situation. Xu Nianqing, wow, the flowers are so beautiful, are they still there now? Liu Beiran, do you want me to send you home, and then say to your aunt with a smile, I'm here to see your daughter? Xu Nianqing, no, not now. Xu Nianqing knew her mother's character very well. If she knew the relationship between Liu Beiran and herself, she would go straight to his house without saying a word. She didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble to Liu Beiran's parents, so she would put on her best attitude when they met next time. Liu Beiran, are you free tomorrow? Xu Nianqing, yes, but I'm going to Hangzhou for a trip with my parents the day after tomorrow, and I may not be back for half a month. Sad. Liu Beiran, it doesn't matter, no matter when and where we meet or part, as long as we have each other in our hearts, we won't be far away. Xu Nianqing, then see you tomorrow. Pig. The two chatted for a full hour. After Xu Nianqing went to take a shower, Liu Beiran took out a bag. When he opened it, he found his newly bought ASUS laptop and electrostatic capacitive mechanical keyboard. I have everything set up. There is no internet at home, so I can only use the mobile phone hotspot. However, typing does not use up too much data, so compared to the payment for the article, it is nothing. There are already over 600 comments in the comments section of my book, most of which are positive and urging for updates, but of course there are also some negative voices. Writing a novel is like this, you must have a good attitude. No work is perfect, and everyone has different tastes. You can't take everything into account, as long as the royalties are in place. Making money is not shameful. At this time, he also received a message from the editor, informing him that The Domineering Lady Falls in Love with Me will be on Singularity's bestseller recommendation next week. Bestseller is Singularity's top recommendation position, and it is not surprising that my book has reached the level of a masterpiece. I solved Lin Yu's problem today, flirted with Xu Nianqing for a while, and then received this news. What a beautiful day. Liu Beiran couldn't help but sigh, but he was still a little tired. Today, things happened one after another, and he felt like a master of time management. Then reward yourself with another 10,000 words. The next morning, Liu Beiran said hello to his parents and left home, going straight to the place where he had agreed to meet Xu Nianqing. He knew that it was not the right time to meet Xu Nianqing's mother, so he chose a place far away from her home. Xu Nianqing was also very happy, thinking that Liu Beiran had really become smarter and would consider himself. Today, Xu Nianqing still had her hair tied in a high ponytail, wearing a white t-shirt, blue jeans and white sneakers. When she saw Liu Bei, she smiled brightly and came towards him skipping. "Well, you seem to be in good spirits today," Liu Beiran said with a smile. "You're not bad either." Xu Nianqing snorted. The two of them first went to eat a bowl of genie beef noodles. Liu Beiran also ordered a portion of steamed dumplings. Xu Nianqing supported her chin and looked at Liu Beiran, who was swallowing a dumpling in one bite. Liu Beiran was not shy about it, and said while eating, as the saying goes, being able to eat is a blessing. "Do you know why I can eat so much? It's a pig." Xu Nianqing responded immediately, turned around and burst out laughing. When he looked up again, a steamed bun was already placed next to his mouth. She opened her mouth and swallowed it in one gulp, imitating Liu Beiran's example. His eyes were full of tenderness. Chapter 16 Admission. After breakfast, the two walked on Jinli Street again. People around them looked at Liu Beiran with such a beautiful girl like Xu Nianqing, and couldn't help but show envy. The two went to the amusement park for some fun and then went to see a movie. Happy times are always short, and they reluctantly parted in the afternoon. After returning home, Liu Beiran exchanged a few words with his parents, took a shower, chatted with Xu Nianqing, and then started typing. The summer vacation is 2 months long, which is neither short nor long. Most students of this age are full of yearning for the wonderful college life and have not yet realized the importance of money. But for Liu Beiran, who has been struggling in society for more than 10 years in his previous life, he has already understood it well. He needs to earn enough money in these 2 months to have a place in college. The next day, Xu Nianqing went to Hangzhou with her parents, while Liu Beiran continued to write at home. As time went by, the performance of The Domineering Lady Falls in Love with Me continued to rise, and it had already reached the top 5 of the overall female frequency list. Many authors were shocked by this emerging dark horse and tried to imitate his subject matter. Liu Beiran didn't care about it. It was normal for online literature. Half a month later, Xu Nianqing came back from Hangzhou. The two had been in contact since then, but meeting each other still felt like a long-awaited reunion. Liu Beiran accompanied her to visit Jinli Forest Park. Liu Beiran was admitted to Xingqing Business College as he wished, while Xu Nianqing was admitted to Xiangnan University. The history of Xiangnan University is inherited from Yuelu Academy founded in 976 AD. Its predecessor was the Xiangnan Higher School established in 1903 by the restructuring of Yuelu Academy. It was named Provincial Xiangnan University in 1926. It is a double first-class university combining the National 985 project and the 211 project. Liu Beiran's business school pales in comparison. The two of them were actually not far away from each other, only about 10 kilometers away, and it would take less than an hour to get there by bus, but Xu Nianqing still felt a little regretful. She hoped to stay with Liu Beiran forever. Normally, she would often watch some campus TV dramas. She was particularly yearning for the love stories from school uniforms to wedding dresses. She would often think about the little moments they had spent together, and their future 3 meals and for seasons before going to bed at night. In the second month, Liu Beiran earned a total of 40,000 yuan in royalties. At that time, online literature was not that complicated and there were not a lot of miscellaneous topics. Liu Beiran used the advanced writing methods from his previous life and soon attracted a large number of readers. After a long period of recuperation, his skin has gradually turned from dark to white. Of course, he is not idle either, and running exercise every few days is essential. The days pass by like this, with no highs, no lows, just the passing of time as plain as water. Today is September 1st, the day to report to the business school. Mother Zhang Haixia got up early and started packing luggage for Liu Beiran. She stuffed a lot of bottles and jars, all of which were homemade specialties, saying that it was to help Lu Beiran get along well with his roommates. Lu Beiran did not refuse and smiled as he helped his mother pack up. His father sat on the electric bike and smoked, waiting for the mother and son to finish packing before taking Lu Beiran to the station. Before leaving, Lu Beiran took out the 1,000 yuan cash he had prepared in his pocket, put it under the pillow in his parents' bedroom, and went to the station with his father with a smile on his face. Xu Nianqing had asked before whether she should ask her father Xu Jiongwo to take Lu Beiran with her, but Lu Beiran refused. She had already met Xu's father last time, so she would definitely have to change her attitude the next time they met. Xu Nianqing never mentioned her mother's attitude, probably because she was definitely not able to accept herself yet. The fact that nothing else happened also showed that Xu's father had concealed the matter. Everything was developing in a good direction and it was not beyond his expectations. Sitting on the bus to Star City, it was the early autumn season of September. The bus was moving at a constant speed, and the surrounding scenery was shaking. The leaves on both sides of the street had turned yellow. The autumn wind blew up the fallen leaves, taking away the boys' broken past. University, here I come. 4 hours later, the bus stopped at Xingqing Station. Lu Beiran turned off the computer. He had not been idle during this period. He had typed a full 20,000 words. Together with the previous drafts, the number of words was enough for 1 month. Although I did not go to college in my previous life, I knew some basic common sense that college was not that stressful and I had plenty of personal time. As soon as he got off the bus, Lu Beiran saw a bustling crowd of people. Most of them were college students going to the university town to report. Some were accompanied by their parents, and some were in groups. He seemed a little lonely. But now he doesn't care about it at all. His parents are in good health, his girlfriend is beautiful, and he has more than 60,000 yuan in savings. For a college student, he is already at the forefront. However, he dressed relatively low-key, with a refreshing short hair, and wore a t-shirt and jeans bought from a street stall. He also did not feel inferior among his peers who were wearing famous brands. There are many drivers soliciting passengers outside the station, speaking the local dialect, and they will offer their luggage as soon as you stop. Lu Beiran ignored him and found a taxi to go directly to the business school. Although he was not interested in those famous brands, he still wanted to live a comfortable life. An hour later, the taxi stopped in front of the business school. Lu Beiran paid and got off the bus. He took out the documents needed for admission procedures from his backpack, then swaggered into the school gate dragging his suitcase. There were many students in school uniforms waiting at the door. Some were holding small flags, some boys took the initiative to help the new girls carry their luggage, and some were shouting whether they wanted to join a certain club. Lu Beiran had previously applied for economics as his major. After completing the admission procedures with ease, he went straight to the dormitory building. The dormitory manager assigned him a dormitory, paid a deposit of 20 yuan, and then he got the key to dormitory 506. There was no elevator in the dormitory, so I had to climb up with my luggage by myself. Lu Beiran was in excellent physical condition, so this was not a difficult task for him. When he found dormitory 506 according to the house number, the door was already open. He must have had a roommate arrive early. When Lu Beiran entered the dormitory, he saw a classmate with dark skin and a shaved head. He was not handsome, but his facial features were regular. The dormitory is a 4-person room. The other person has already made his bed and is sitting at the table eating instant noodles. Hello. Lu Beiran smiled and waved at him. The classmate was a little slow to react. He hastily sipped his instant noodles, quickly stood up, lowered his head slightly, wanted to say something, but was too nervous to speak. This guy is exactly like me in my previous life. Lu Beiran thought about it and stretched out his hand to him. Hello, my name is Lu Beiran. The classmate rubbed his hands on his clothes before shaking hands with Lu Beiran. Hello, my name is Lin Jingyao. He stammered. Chapter 17, Blooming Like a Summer Flower. After a simple greeting, Lu Beiran began to make the bed, while Lin Jingyao continued to sit down and eat instant noodles, but he glanced at Lu Beiran from time to time. Because he was too nervous, his hands were shaking slightly while eating the instant noodles. After a while, another classmate came in. He was wearing a black suit, had a slick back hair, a shoulder bag on his waist, and was carrying a small suitcase. As soon as he came in, he heard a cell phone ringing and he answered the call. Hey, I told you to just ask my secretary for small projects like this. Okay, that's it. Just send the file to my email. After hanging up the phone, he walked to an empty bunk and put his luggage in place. He then took out a pack of Furong Wang from his pocket, opened it, and handed it to Liu Beiran. Brother, have one. Liu Beiran was still making the bed. Hearing the sound, he turned around and took the cigarette. He said, "Thank you," then put it between his ears and turned back to continue making the bed. The boy then handed it to Lin Jingyao, who was sitting next to him. I don't smoke." Lin Jingyao waved his hand quickly. The boy curled his lips. At this time, Liu Beiran had already prepared himself. He first introduced himself and then waited for the other party to introduce himself. "Hello, my name is Chen Xiaofeng, and I'm from Yangcheng. Thank you for your guidance in the future." After saying that, Chen Xiaofeng also started packing his luggage. After a while, another boy came in. With blonde hair, wearing sunglasses and all branded clothes, he introduced himself to everyone as soon as he arrived, saying that his name was Jiang Yangbin, that he was a native of Xinchen, and that they could come to him if they had any problems here in the future. At this time, everyone in dormitory 506 had arrived. Liu Beiran observed a few people. Lin Jingyao was dressed in cheap clothes and had a withdrawn personality, so his family background should not be good. Chen Xiaofeng is dressed like a social elite and may have started a business. It is very polite of him to pass around cigarettes when they first meet, but of course it may also be that he is just trying to show off. Jiang Yangbin, on the other hand, gives off the vibe of a stupid son of a landlord. He should come from a well-off family, having grown up in a greenhouse, the type who has avoided the harsh treatment of society. After they introduced themselves to each other and made their beds, Chen Xiaofeng changed into casual clothes and said, "I suggest that we go to the cafeteria for a meal, see what the food at the business school is like, and deepen our relationship at the same time." Liu Beiran and Jiang Yangbin nodded in agreement, only Lin Jingyao lowered his head and said nothing. "What's wrong, brother?" Chen Xiaofeng asked. Lin Jingyao said with some embarrassment, "Why don't you guys go? I want to save some money." Jiang Yangbin immediately waved his hand. "Why do you need to pay? This meal is on me." Liu Beiran walked up to Lin Jingyao and patted him on the shoulder. "Jingyao, since Yangbin has said so, if you refuse again, it will be a disrespect to us brothers." "Well, all right then." A few people went downstairs and went to the cafeteria of the business school. There was an artificial lake inside the gate of the business school. The fountain in the center of the lake gushed out waves, reflecting colorful light under the sunlight. The surrounding areas are paved with cobblestone paths, which are winding and secluded. Students walk in groups and their laughter can be heard from time to time. Oh, the quality of girls in the business school is really good. It's worth it that I deliberately lowered my score to come here. Chen Xiaofeng looked at the classmates coming and going and nodded. Liu Beiran admired his pretending skills in his heart. His attire during this period was still quite intimidating. Jiang Yangbin pushed up his sunglasses, raised the corners of his mouth, and revealed a wicked smile. "It's true, but they will all be mine soon." As they were talking, they soon arrived at the cafeteria. As soon as they sat down, Chen Xiaofeng snapped his fingers. "Wit, menu." Jiang Yangbin was quite generous and ordered for meat dishes and 2 vegetable dishes. After the meal, they added each other on QQ. Jiang Yangbin suggested going to an internet cafe to play some games, and Chen Xiaofeng immediately became interested. Liu Beiran originally wanted to ask Lin Jingyao to go with him, but then he seemed to think of something. He waved his hand and said, "I have something else to do today. I'll take you guys flying next time." Since Liu Beiran was not going, Lin Jingyao naturally would not go either, so Jiang Yangbin and Chen Xiaofeng went together. Zhang Jingyao went straight back to the dormitory, while Liu Beiran left the business school and took the bus. Soon, he arrived at a location, got off the car, took the cigarette from his ear and handed it to the security guard. After asking a few questions, he walked behind a building. Xu Nianqing had just made her bed in the dormitory. After getting to know her roommates, she took out her cell phone and opened QQ to edit messages. "Pig, I've already tidied up my dorm, what are you doing?" Soon, Liu Beiran replied. "I'm thinking about you." Xu Nianqing, "I knew you would say that, but I don't believe it." Liu Beiran, "Do you believe in miracles?" After seeing the message, Xu Nianqing had a sense of déjà vu suddenly, as if she remembered something. She hurriedly got out of bed and ran to the balcony in her slippers. Looking down, a young man in a black t-shirt and jeans was standing upright in the dormitory building with his hands on his waist, as if searching. When he saw Xu Nianqing, he immediately showed an unruly smile. Xu Nianqing was on the 6th floor. Lu Beiran's figure below looked a little small, but in her heart he was taller than a 1,000-foot-tall building. After a while, Xu Nianqing came out from the school gate and jumped to Lu Beiran, her fair cheeks smiling and her clear eyes full of water. "Pig, why are you here again?" she asked. Lu Beiran spread his hands and said, "I missed you, so I came here. You are the only one who talks sweetly." Xu Nianqing lowered her head, looking shy. Suddenly, a fragrant scent of flowers filled her nose. Xu Nianqing raised her head and saw a bouquet of roses placed in front of her. "Here, it's for you," Lu Beiran said with a smile. Xu Nianqing took the rose, and she remembered that Lu Beiran had told her before that he bought a rose from a little girl. Although she knew that it was to let the little girl go home earlier and she couldn't accept it at home, she always felt a little regretful that her boyfriend bought flowers but didn't give them to her. At this moment, looking at the rose in my arms and smelling its fragrant scent, all the gloom is blown away by the wind. "You are sensible," Xu Nianqing said with her chin raised. Lu Beiran smiled and said, "The emperor is far away, your mother can't control us. I can give as much as I want." Xu Nianqing gently hit Lu Beiran's shoulder. You want to give it to me, but I don't want it. By the way, how are you getting along with your roommates?" Lu Beiran asked. "It's okay. It's our first time meeting, so I'm a little nervous. I believe it will get better later." Xu Nianqing smiled and said, "What about you?" "Me?" Lu Beiran thought for a moment and said, "It's not bad. Boys just brag and fight when they are unhappy." You are not allowed to fight," Xu Nianqing said immediately. "I know you're worried that I'll get hurt." Lu Beiran raised his arm, showing off his biceps, and said with a smile, "Look at me like this, who can beat me?" "You are not allowed to fight then." The two of them walked to a milk tea shop outside the school while flirting with each other, ordered a cup each, and sat opposite each other by the window. "I'm here, right here. As fleeting as a fleeting beauty, as gorgeous as a summer flower. Pu Shoes, born like summer flowers, was playing in the store. Business was booming due to the reporting of new students. Many students sat here in groups and chatted about the present and the future. Chapter 18, The Scenery of the Back Mountain. When Lu Beiran was in the dormitory of business school, it was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Chen Xiaofeng and Jiang Yangbin were still in the internet cafe, while Lin Jingyao was watching their Dragon Ball anime on his mobile phone. When Lu Beiran came back, he bought some snacks and drinks and shared some with Lin Jingyao. Lin Jingyao waved his hand to refuse at first, but Lu Beiran forced him to accept it on the grounds that he would have to throw it away if he didn't want it. Lu Beiran turned on his computer and went to Chijin reading to check the comments section. Suddenly, he found that the big shot named Wan Ruo Shahua had rewarded him with another silver alliance and left a message in the comments section. "Today there are so many new students registering. I am so tired. Come on, Mr. Lu. New students reporting? Is she also a college student?" Lu Beiran was a little confused, but he didn't ask any more questions. He published another 10,000 words from his saved manuscripts and wrote thanks to Miss Wan Ruo Shahua for the reward from the Silver Alliance at the end of the chapter. Since he now had plenty of manuscripts in reserve and was not in a hurry to write, Lu Beiran decided to go to the business school first to get familiar with the environment. Originally, he wanted to call Lin Jingyao, but seeing Lin Jingyao smiling from time to time while watching anime, he decided not to ruin this beautiful moment. At the moment, it seems that the roommates are pretty good. There is no bloody intrigue or any other plots. He is not averse to Chen Xiaofeng's pretentious personality, and even thinks that he has a unique personality. Jiang Yangbin does seem to have a well-off family background and he doesn't look down on others, so I'll be able to get along with them in the future. As for Lin Jingyao, it will take a process for him to transform. It will take a long time, so just take it slow. After Lu Beiran went downstairs, there were still many classmates wandering around the campus. Some of them had just enrolled and were staggering with their suitcases. There was a female classmate who was carrying a large pile of luggage and looked a little tired. She had a pretty face and was wearing a loose off-shoulder t-shirt and a pleated skirt, and high-heeled sandals. Every time she exerted force, the rise and fall of her chest became more prominent. There are already many boys around who are ready to make a move. Liu Beiran glanced at her without hesitation and walked past her. Although she was good-looking, she was still inferior to Xun Yinqing. "Hello, classmate." At this time, a sweet voice came. Liu Beiran turned around and saw the female classmate carrying the luggage looking at him with a resentful expression. She pointed to her suitcase and said, "Can you help me carry it to the dormitory?" "Actually, I also want to be helpful," Liu Beiran said with a smile. "Sorry, but my girlfriend will be angry." After Liu Beiran finished speaking, he turned around and left. The girl stared at his back blankly, biting her teeth lightly, with an angry look on her face. At this time, several boys also came over. They all felt that Liu Beiran was a little ungrateful, and Liu Beiran's actions gave them courage. The girl didn't refuse anymore, and several boys smiled and carried their luggage and walked towards the girls' dormitory. Liu Beiran strolled around the business school and had to admit that the scale of the business school was quite large, far beyond what Liucheng No. 1 middle school could compare to. When he walked to a certain place, 2 students immediately ran up to him and said, "Classmate, are you a freshman?" Liu Beiran nodded and said, "Please give me more advice, senior." Okay. "Are you interested in joining our art troupe?" asked one of the students. Liu Beiran waved his hand. "I don't have any accomplishments in art, so forget it. You can learn it. You have a good appearance and figure. As long as you are willing to learn, you will definitely achieve great success." Liu Beiran looked at the senior with a smile on his face, spitting all over his face. Although he had never been to university in his previous life, he had some knowledge about it and did not find it strange that such a phenomenon of clubs recruiting people. At this time, the classmate lowered his voice and said, "Our new leader is the school beauty, right?" School beauty. Liu Beiran was a little confused. "Yes, you may not know this yet, but the previous leader has graduated, and the new leader is none other than Han Shiwen, the beauty from the business school." Originally, the art troupe was on the verge of decline due to competition from other clubs, but since the new director took office, our status has been rising steadily, and we are about to become the number 1 club in the college. The senior student said this with a proud look on his face. Han Shiwen. Liu Beiran silently repeated the name in his mind. He also wanted to see what this so-called beauty from the business school looked like. "Then what do I need to do after joining?" Liu Beiran asked. Seeing that Liu Beiran was interested, the classmate immediately said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Luo Jian from the Accounting 1 class of the sophomore year. I'm also the person in charge of recruiting new students to join the club. You just need to fill in your name and leave your contact information, and then participate in club activities in the future. Our club has plenty of funding." Liu Beiran nodded slightly. Now that he was in college, it would be too boring to study the same old thing. It would be a good idea to participate in some group activities. It would be a good opportunity to get to know more people, which would be beneficial to his future development. He first carefully read the information he needed to fill in to join the club. In fact, the information was very simple. It was just a form. He only needed to fill in his name, major, class, and contact information. After doing all this, he wandered around and unknowingly reached the back mountain. At this moment, some senior couples are here showing affection to each other. Some of them are kissing each other and their fingers are already touching each other's bodies. Liu Beiran walked gently to the entrance of the back mountain, found a secluded corner, and cleared his throat. "The teacher is here." As soon as the shout was made, it caused a commotion, with shouting and cursing being heard amid the commotion. Liu Beiran laughed and immediately started running wildly, becoming a member of the fleeing army. While running, he said to a boy next to him, "Brother, you need to exercise more. I don't know which bastard ruined our good deeds. Brother, your girlfriend is lagging behind. Universities don't really care about your dating life as long as nothing gets out of hand. But openly flirting in school is definitely not allowed. Maybe they wanted to save some money on their hotel, or maybe they just couldn't help themselves when they met. Anyway, at this time they just wanted to escape quickly. If someone took a photo of them and posted it on the campus website, it would be a big loss." Seeing that most people had run away, Liu Beiran stopped, turned around and walked in slowly again. "Now it's out of sight, out of mind," he muttered with a smile, but then he was stunned. A familiar figure appeared before me. It was the freshman whom she had refused to help outside the school before. Now she was standing with her hands on her hips, glaring at her angrily. Okay, so you are so bad, said the girl. Lu Beiran shrugged, it's just a joke. Then why didn't you help me carry my luggage just now? The girl continued to ask. No, are you mistaken? Why should I help you? I don't like you. Lu Beiran was speechless. Chapter 19. Just because I looked at you more in the crowd. You? The girl was choked by Lu Beiran and was speechless. She just stared at Lu Beiran with sparkling eyes. Soon, a tear rolled down her cheek. Hey, why are you still crying? Lu Beiran felt helpless. This girl's psychological endurance was too poor. But if you think about it carefully, it can be understood. It may be because she has been spoiled since childhood. Because of her pretty face, there must be a lot of dogs around her. But she never expected to meet a straight man like him today. In fact, I am not a straight man, I just don't want to be a bootlicker. After all, my girlfriend is the campus beauty of number 1 middle school. Okay, stop crying. If people see us, they will think I bullied you. Lu Beiran said. The girl still kept her head down and did not respond. At this time, only Lu Beiran and she were left in the back mountain. The setting sun shone through the dense branches and leaves, casting mottled light and shadows on the ground. The gentle evening breeze caressed away the heat of the day and also brought out the long chirping of insects. Lu Beiran walked up to her and patted her shoulder. All right, we don't know each other. If I were a little more ruthless, I would just leave and leave you alone. It would be fine. The girl raised her head when she heard that, her tears stopped, but she still looked aggrieved. Lu Beiran also became interested at this time and asked, What's your major? I won't tell you, bad guy. The girl snorted. Upon hearing this, Lu Beiran turned around and left. Hey, wait a minute. The girl ran over again and asked, Why did you leave? You don't even answer my questions. Am I going to stay here and blow the wind? Well, okay then. The girl curled her lips. My name is Beiran Yao, from economics class 2, what about you? Lu Beiran stopped immediately. My goodness, if you are not from the same family, you won't enter the same door. He immediately straightened his clothes, coughed to clear his throat, and said seriously. Student Beiran Yao, congratulations on passing the test. Beiran Yao. Lu Beiran continued, in fact, I already knew your identity a long time ago. This was just a test I arranged. So far, it seems that you have performed well. Test. Beiran Yao curled her lips. Yes. Lu Beiran took out his student ID card. Look for yourself. I believe that with your intelligence, you don't need me to explain too much. Beiran Yao took Lu Beiran's student ID with a suspicious look on her face, looked at both the front and back, and then returned the student ID to him. Is what you said true? Lu Beiran shrugged. Of course, do you think I'm a liar? Beiran Yao then took a closer look at Lu Beiran. He was about 1.8 meters tall, a head taller than her, with regular features and good looks. He really did give off a harmless vibe. Okay, I'll trust you for now. Beiran Yao said, then what are you going to do next? Actually, I'm a lazy person. I was only planning to pick one, but I didn't expect to meet you. You have to understand, classmate Beiran Yao, all encounters are not accidental. Lu Beiran responded calmly. I plan to take you to the canteen to buy drinks after you pass the test. This will be a reward and compensation. This will also improve our relationship as classmates. After all, we are in the same class and will have to help each other in the future. Although Lu Beiran was not interested in Beiran Yao, they were classmates after all, and they would see each other every day in the future. Although they had only been together for a short time, he had already understood Beiran Yao's character. There was a high possibility that she would spread what happened today in the class. In fact, the matter was not a big deal. His classmates would just watch the incident and it would be over in a few days. But this would definitely affect his initial reputation and also limit his ability to develop his talents. Thinking of this, Lu Beiran decided to comfort the little girl's wounded heart first. Then why are you looking for me? Beiran Yao was still a little confused. Is this ever going to end? Lu Beiran raised his head to the sky. If you really want to know the reason, it might be because I looked at you a little more in the crowd. Well, okay then. Looking at Lu Beiran's serious profile, Beiran Yao lowered her head. If you want to compliment me on my beauty, just say it. So Lu Beiran took Beiran Yao to the store, bought him a bottle of milk, and took a piece of watermelon to eat. At this time, two figures came towards them and looked at Beiran. Both of them were stunned. "Fuck, Beiran, you're just..." Jiang Yanbin's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief. Chen Xiaofeng shook his head slightly, revealing a look of regret. Bai Xinyao, who was standing by, seemed to realize something and immediately said, "What are you thinking? Beiran and I are just classmates, because..." At this point, perhaps because Beiran had explained too much before, Bai Xinyao forgot what to say. At this time, Beiran spoke up to smooth things over. "Why did you two come back so soon?" "Oh, don't mention it." Jiang Yangbin shook his head and pointed at Chen Xiaofeng beside him. "Before he left, this guy told me that he was 500 points in the Ionia King rank. I was planning to let him take me on a flight, but as soon as I got on the plane, he said his account was stolen. Then I rented him a silver account, and guess what happened?" "What's the matter?" Beiran asked. "But this guy can still go 0-8 when playing against a silver player. It makes me so angry," Jiang Yangbin said angrily, his hands on his waist. Seeing Jiang Yangbin diss him, Chen Xiaofeng immediately refused to accept it. "I've already said that I've been too busy in the past few months and I'm not familiar with it. Besides, I haven't adapted to the pace of the internet cafes in the business school. You don't know how high my requirements for configuration are." Alas. Jiang Yangbin shook his head helplessly. Beiran understood immediately after hearing this, patted Jiang Yangbin on the shoulder, and said with a smile, "Okay, Xiaofeng may be unfamiliar with it, let's go together next time. Yes, next time when I recover to 30% of my level, I will definitely carry you." Chen Xiaofeng patted his chest. At this time, the two of them turned their eyes to Bai Xinyao again, and then looked at Beiran at the same time with an unfriendly look. Beiran immediately pointed at Bai Xinyao and said, "Let me introduce you. This is our classmate Bai Xinyao. I just met her. As a classmate, I should treat her, right? That makes sense." They both nodded at the same time. At this time, Chen Xiaofeng walked up to Bai Xinyao with a smile and said, "Hello, classmate Bai Xinyao, my name is Chen Xiaofeng, and my English name is Tom. You can always come to me if you have any difficulties in the future." Bai Xinyao looked at Beiran with a puzzled look. Beiran nodded, "Yes, that's right, my name is Jerry." "What a mess, are you two playing cat and mouse?" Jiang Yangbin couldn't stand it anymore and decided to stand up. He looked at Bai Xinyao in front of him and said, "Hello, my name is Jiang Yangbin. You can also call me by my alias." "What's your nickname?" Bai Xinyao asked puzzledly. "Abin." Chapter 20. Something happened. Listening to several people introducing themselves one after another, Bai Xinyao was a little confused, but since they were classmates, she was not averse to it. She felt that she really needed to build good relationships with them. "Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first," Beiran said, striding back to the dormitory. Etc. Bai Xinyao called him, and when Beiran turned around, she continued, "Are you leaving just like that?" Beiran spread his hands. "What else? I've already bought the milk, what else do you want to do?" Chen Xiaofeng and Jiang Yanbin's eyes widened upon hearing this, and they stared at Beiran in shock. They realized that things were not that simple. Bai Xinyao shook the milk in her hand. "Oh, I just wanted to thank you for treating me to milk." "Then just say thank you," Beiran said calmly. The matter had been resolved, and he didn't want to waste any more time. He might as well go back and write some drafts and deepen his relationship with Xun Yanqing. "Beiran, it's wrong for you to say that." At this time, Chen Xiaofeng stood up. "Please start your performance." Beiran gave him an opening speech in his mind. Ahem. Chen Xiaofeng cleared his throat and said, "I think that since we are classmates and will be together for 4 years, it is fate that we meet today." "Yes, that's right," Jiang Yangbin affirmed. Chen Xiaofeng continued, "In that case, let's just have a social gathering. As expected of you, classmate Chen, you have quite a big appetite." Beiran thought to himself, his expression calm. "Gathering? What is a gathering?" Bai Xinyao was a little confused. Chen Xiaofeng smiled kindly. "Hey, Xinyao, you don't know that the three of us are in the same dormitory. You can call your roommates down and we can organize a social gathering. This will be very helpful in promoting class friendship." "Is that so?" Bai Xinyao tilted her head and looked at Beiran again. Liu Beiran shrugged. Well, let me ask. Bai Xinyao said as she took out her cell phone and started contacting her roommate. Soon, 2 roommates came down from the female dormitory building. One of them had 2 braids and wore a long white dress with black leather shoes and stockings. Let me introduce you, this is Liu Lingling. Bai Xinyao pointed at the girl and said. The other girl was called Kui Li. She had slightly yellowish skin and was dressed conservatively, in a standard white t-shirt, jeans and white sneakers. Another classmate can't come because of something. Bai Xinyao curled her lips, looking a little regretful. It's okay, there are 6 of us. Chen Xiefeng said with a smile. Yeah. Jiang Yangbin nodded. Let me call you Jingyao. Liu Beiran said. Chen Xiefeng shook his head slightly, why not just forget it? This guy is a taciturn person, so it will be embarrassing later. Liu Beiran smiled and said, people have to grow up. We can't leave him behind as our roommate for the next 4 years. After saying that, he took out his cell phone and made a voice call directly. Hey, Jingyao, I'm surrounded in the store. 3 minutes later, Lin Jingyao came running over quickly, gasping for breath due to his fast pace. Beiran, are you okay? Lin Jingyao blurted out, then reacted, looked around, and felt something was wrong. Liu Beiran patted his shoulder and said, let's go to their social gathering. It was already 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and the early autumn night was still relatively comfortable. The sky was high and deep, like a glass bottle filled with blue ink, with a few diamond-like stars in the bottle, which was magnificent and moving. Although the business school is located in the far suburbs of Yuelu district in Xinjiang, it has attracted many investors due to the flow of students, so it is also prosperous. A few people found a food stall outside the business school and ordered a case of beer. Before the food was served, Chen Xiefeng had already started to prepare his opening remarks. After everyone introduced themselves, the food was served. Chen Xiefeng picked up his glass and said, come on, let's toast to friendship. Cheers. Everyone raised their glasses. Several girls can drink quite well, especially Kui Li, who comes from a fighting ethnic group in Inner Mongolia and grew up on the grassland. For her, beer is like drinking water. In addition to them, many classmates also had dinner here. It was the start of the school year and the crowds were huge. The noise echoed throughout the restaurant. The boss was grilling non-stop, sweat constantly oozing out of his body, with a big smile on his face. On the boys' side, it was mostly Chen Xiefeng who did the talking, from Chimelong Amusement Park to Baiyan Mountain, from the small slender waist to the Minion Sunflower Garden, and he said that he would definitely take everyone to Guangzhou someday, fully demonstrating how much Mr. Chen had seen the world. The 3 girls were stunned by what they heard. Sometimes they smiled and pursed their lips, and sometimes they picked up a skewer of meat and bit it until it sizzled with oil. At this time, Chen Xiefeng would pick up a piece of toilet paper, pass it to the other person's mouth, and say with a smile, classmate, just eat and leave the rest to me. At this time, the girl would smile and purse her lips, thank you, Xiefeng. After hearing this, Chen Xiefeng would deliberately look at Liu Beiran and the other boys, as if to say, did you see that? Learn from this. At this time, Jiang Yangbin would lower his head, pick up the wine glass and drink it all in one gulp, the bitter wine going down his throat and causing pain in his heart. Lin Jingyao was eating by himself, as if everything in the outside world had nothing to do with him. He would only raise his head when someone shouted, clink glasses. Liu Beiran smiled and nodded, praising Chen for his general-like demeanor and calling him the sleeping dragon of the business school. Chen Xiefeng smiled and waved his hand, Brother Beiran, you are too kind. After 3 rounds of wine, the dishes have 5 flavors. Bai Xinyao was going to the bathroom, and Liu Lingling and Kui Li were accompanying her. After the 3 of them left, Chen Xiefeng immediately whispered, who do you like the most? Jiang Yangbin thought for a moment and said, Liu Lingling, I like cute ones. What about Beiran? Chen Xiefeng asked. Liu Beiran smiled and said, I like you. Get lost, I'm not gay. Chen Xiefeng cursed and then looked at Lin Jingyao. Lin Jingyao had already eaten his fill and was reading a novel on his phone. Noticing Chen Xiefeng's gaze, he slowly raised his head, his face slightly flushed, and said softly, I. He said only this one word, and then he got stuck. Just tell me who is the best looking. They haven't arrived yet. Liu Beiran also became interested. Lin Jingyao pursed his lips and thought for a while, then looked in the direction of the bathroom. When he didn't see Bai Xinyao and the others, he turned his head away again. I think. R. At this moment, a scream was heard. Before Chen Xiaofeng's brain could react, his body had already stood up from the chair. The warm-hearted DNA engraved in his blood told him that someone needed help at this moment. He immediately rolled up his sleeves and walked towards the direction where the sound came from. Seeing this, several people followed closely behind him. Liu Beiran frowned slightly. The scream just now was very familiar. It seemed to have been made by Bai Xinyao. Something happened. Chapter 21, Throwing the Injustice Over the Shoulder. When they arrived at a place, they found Bai Xinyao and the other two standing in a corner outside the bathroom with terrified looks on their faces, and in front of them were several men who looked to be in their 30s. At this time, several people were drunk, and one of them even pretended to take another step forward. When he was about to stretch out his hand to touch Bai Xinyao, he suddenly felt his wrist being clamped by a force. Friends, you are in broad daylight. Chen Xiaofeng said, and suddenly felt something was wrong, and looked around. Anyway, you guys are openly molesting a decent family. It doesn't feel quite right. Just as he was about to continue organizing his words, he suddenly felt a fist shadow coming towards him. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. At this time, Liu Beiran quickly stepped forward, grabbed the man's fist, took a step forward, and with a gorgeous turn, he placed the man's arm on his shoulder, lowered his center of gravity, and exerted force on his shoulders and arms at the same time. Bang! The figure was thrown hard over the shoulder and fell on a plastic stool, breaking it. You! The few people who were traveling with him were about to step forward after hearing Liu Beiran's commotion, but Liu Beiran turned around and glared at them fiercely. After being glared at by Liu Beiran, several people suddenly felt a creepy feeling lingering in their hearts, and goosebumps appeared on their skin. They hesitated on the spot and did not dare to move forward. Jiang Yangbin stood beside Liu Beiran, also with a fierce look in his eyes. You, what do you want to do? Asked a man opposite. Liu Beiran ignored them and turned to face Bai Xinyao and the others, and asked calmly, did they do anything to you? Bai Xinyao shook her head gently, I shouted before I could do so. Liu Beiran hummed, then turned to look at the people in front of him. It's already 2012, and you're still using the underworld tricks. At this point, he pointed to the surveillance camera on the wall and took out his cell phone. I'll make a call now, get ready to go to the police station. At this time, many people around had already rushed up and looked at the drunkards. Most of them were business school students. Some had already taken out their phones to record videos, while others were ready to teach them a lesson. It's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. One of the drunkards said at this time. Although his face was red, he was relatively sober. If we weren't here just now, on a deserted street corner, would it still be a misunderstanding? Liu Beiran continued to ask, raising the volume of his voice when he said the last sentence. This. The man looked anxious and stared at the phone in Liu Beiran's hand, fearing that he would call the police. He looked at the man who was tumbling on the ground after being thrown over the shoulder by Liu Beiran, with a look of resentment on his face. Today, he and his friends were discussing business with a client, and the client was the one sitting next to him. At this moment, the client also woke up and said in horror, I'm sorry, I don't know them. After saying that, he ran out. Liu Beiran did not stop him. He could see that the other party did not mean that. Even though he was drunk, he just sat aside and even tried to dissuade him. This incident would definitely affect their business, but it had nothing to do with him. He who brings trouble upon himself will suffer the consequences. At this time, sirens sounded. Two policemen came in from outside the door, asked about the situation, and then briefly explained a few words to Liu Beiran and the others, asking them to return to school early, and then left with the drunk men. When the police car left, Liu Beiran turned around and saw Bai Xinyao and others looking at him with gratitude. Snap! A crisp sound attracted several people's attention. I saw a plate fall down from under Lin Jingyao's feet and broke into pieces. Seeing everyone looking at him, Lin Jingyao felt a little embarrassed. He pointed to the broken plate on the ground and said softly, this is the only one left. Liu Beiran burst into laughter, and then there was a burst of applause from the audience, like thunder. That fall just now was so cool, someone said at the scene. At this time, people kept coming forward to inquire about the situation. Liu Beiran and his companions said it was not a big deal and left one after another. Everything returned to normal. The diners continued to clink glasses and the restaurant was filled with a happy atmosphere again. The few of them had already eaten their fill, and after what had just happened, they prepared to go home. Judging from the way they were dressed, they should be salesmen or something like that, not the kind of thugs in society. Under normal circumstances, they would definitely not do such a thing, but some people have very bad drinking behavior and they don't know who they are once they drink. Of course, Liu Beiran has to help them recognize their own worth. Liu Beiran asked the boss about the price of the plate, but the boss waved his hand to indicate that it was not necessary, as he was the one who called the police just now. Several people left. After sending Bai Xinyao and the others back to the dormitory, Liu Beiran and the others also returned to room 506. Fuck, those guys are dead. Chen Xiaofeng's face was filled with anger and annoyance. He was angry because someone there dared to touch his classmates, and he was annoyed because he felt that he had performed a little abnormally today. Liu Beiran patted his shoulder and said, "Mr. Chen, it's great that you were the first to grab that person's hand. Bai Xinyao and the others will definitely remember it. But in the end, you still knocked him out." Chen Xiaofeng felt helpless. After thinking for a while, he said seriously, "Next time something like this happens, you must let me take the first step." Opening the memo on his phone and tapping his fingers on the keyboard, Liu Beiran glanced and saw the words, "Next time I see injustice, I will throw it over my shoulder." Good job. Mr. Chen really gathers ideas from all sides. Liu Beiran said with a smile. I'm not talented. Chen Xiaofeng smiled back. Several people took a shower one after another. After showering, Lin Jingyao lay on the bed reading a novel, while Jiang Yangbin turned on his mobile phone to watch a TV series. Only Chen Xiaofeng acted sneakily, sometimes looking down at the screen and sometimes looking around. Liu Beiran had already set up his computer and was ready to type, but when he noticed something was wrong with him, he quickly ran to him and pulled back the quilt. "Fuck, Beiran, what are you doing?" Chen Xiaofeng looked resentful. "What are you doing hiding in the bed, kid?" Liu Beiran said with a wicked smile. "It's none of your business, go away and play somewhere else." Liu Beiran noticed that Chen Xiaofeng was wearing earphones. He glanced at him and saw that a Japanese action movie was playing on his phone screen. When Chen Xiaofeng realized that Liu Beiran had discovered him, he immediately blushed and seemed a little embarrassed. Suddenly, Liu Beiran sat down next to him and raised his eyebrows at him. "Share it, don't eat it alone." Chen Xiaofeng was stunned for a moment when he heard this, then his tense expression relaxed, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and he said proudly, "This is a custom version. My friend from abroad took the photo. The moon is bright in the sky, shining silvery light everywhere." It was already midnight, and there were people on the streets of the university town. A light mist shrouded the dim street lights, and the lights shone through the mist onto the bare road surface. Snoring sounds were already echoing in dormitory 506. Liu Beiran opened his eyes, looked at the brilliant and deep starry sky outside the window, and suddenly laughed. He took out his cell phone and opened Xu Nianqing's chat interface. Good night. Chapter 22 Freshman Conference. The next morning, Liu Beiran was woken up by the 7:20 alarm clock. The drunkenness from last night had worn off, but his head was still a little groggy. When he got up, he found that Lin Jingyao was already washing up, while Chen Xiaofeng and Jiang Yangbin were still sleeping soundly. Liu Beiran walked to the edge of their beds and woke them up one by one. Today was the day for class roll call, which also meant the official start of college life. When he opened QQ, as expected, Xu Nianqing had already sent him a message. "Pig, why do you go to bed so late?" Liu Beiran began to type, "I went out for dinner and drinks with my roommates yesterday." "Xu Nianqing, you didn't drink too much, did you?" While chatting with Xu Nianqing, Liu Beiran washed his face at lightning speed. In less than a minute, he finished washing and drying his face. He put on his white t-shirt, still wearing his underwear. Standing on the balcony, looking up at the sky. Hold up the phone with your left hand. Crack. The photo shows an unruly profile shrouded in the morning light. Liu Beiran, picture, "Do I look drunk to you?" Xu Nianqing, "You look good. Come see me on the weekend." Liu Beiran, "No problem, my princess." After the chat, Liu Beiran started brushing his teeth, and Chen Xiaofeng and Jiang Yangbin also started washing. After washing up, Liu Beiran and his group headed to the classroom. At this time, the campus was crowded with people, and a large group of freshmen walked towards their respective classes, with smiles on their faces and full of hope. Liu Beiran and his group found the classroom of Economics Class 2. Most of the students had already arrived, so he found a seat by the window and sat down. Students came in one after another. Not long after, a middle-aged man wearing black-framed glasses, about 40 years old, walked into the classroom podium holding a pile of materials. After all the students arrived, the middle-aged man began to speak. "Hello, students. I am your counselor Zhang Chenyao. Welcome to the School of Business and to the big family of Economics Class 2. We must all get along harmoniously in the future." After the polite words, Counselor Zhang Chenyao began to call the roll one by one. Liu Beiran looked around and saw that there were 48 people in the class, half of them were males and half were females. After the roll call, the next step is to introduce yourself. Starting from the seating order, the first one is a boy who is a bit short and fat, but his skin is very good and his round face looks very funny. "Hello everyone, I'm Xiong Weiwei, from Liucheng, Xiangnan Province. My hobby is playing games, and my specialty is eating." As soon as he finished speaking, there was a burst of laughter from the audience. Ahem. Counselor Zhang Qianyao coughed, and the scene suddenly became quiet. He signaled Xiong Weiwei to continue. Xiong Weiwei said that she had almost finished speaking, and if anyone needed a coach in the future they could come to her. Liu Beiran looked at this person seriously. In his previous life, he was familiar with this name. In 2017, he led the LPL team to the world stage and won the championship. If his growth trajectory remains unchanged in this life, he will be better off than all those who are laughing at him now. The second one is a girl, with long hair, a white sweater on her upper body, and pencil pants showing off her long legs. But her face is a little cold, with a temperament of only to be admired from a distance, not to be touched. Liu Beiran gave her 9 points in his heart, and the remaining 1 point was not because he was afraid that she would be proud, but because of his love for Xu Nianqing. "Hello everyone, my name is Xie Yu, I'm from Shanghai, please give me your guidance in the future." Without saying much, she nodded slightly to the audience and returned to her seat with a calm expression. The next moment was a bit boring, until a familiar figure walked onto the stage and Liu Beiran's wandering pupils focused again. Chen Xiefeng strode up to the podium with his head held high, a big smile on his face. He had specially combed his hair back today. When Liu Beiran saw him in the dormitory in the morning, he stood in front of the suit for a long time, and finally chose another casual outfit. Chen Xiefeng nodded slightly to the counselor, greeted him, and then walked up to the podium. He looked at the people below and said with a smile, "Hello everyone, my name is Chen Xiefeng, I'm from Guangzhou, my hobbies are traveling, playing golf, and drinking with some business friends." Chen Xiefeng was talking at the podium, and some students in the audience just stared blankly, while others showed a hint of impatience. But after all, it was their first time meeting each other, so no one came out to interrupt. After about 5 minutes, Chen Xiefeng felt that it was about time, so he said, "Okay, that's about it. If you want to start a business in the future, you can find me. Some of my experience should be able to help you. Beautiful women only." Chen Xiefeng thought to himself, and smiled as he returned to his seat. The morning sun was very blazing, reflecting into the classroom from the window. Chen Xiefeng walked in the direction of the beam of light, and the whole person seemed to be bathed in the light, with his slicked back hair shiny. Liu Beiran felt that Xiao Chen's ability to show off seemed to have improved again, which should be the result of hard work. The students continued to introduce themselves. When it was his turn, he walked up to the podium with a calm face, nodded slightly to the counselor, then turned to look at the students and said, "Hello everyone, my name is Liu Beiran, and I'm from Liucheng. Please take care of each other from now on." After saying that, he prepared to return to his seat. "You were the one last night." Liu Beiran stopped and saw a student pointing at him with a surprised look on his face. "It seems to be an eyewitness from last night." Liu Beiran thought about it and said, "Classmates, it's normal for us to help each other. I believe if it was you at that time, you would do the same as me. It's nothing. What's wrong? What's going on?" The class kept making noises, fully revealing the curiosity of the crowd. Sometimes it is like this, the more you explain, the less people will care, but as long as you express that you don't want to say more, they will start to get to the bottom of it. Counselor Zhang Qianyao pushed up his black-framed glasses and took a look at the student. He always felt that Liu Beiran had a maturity that was not in line with his age, which was already apparent when he nodded at him as soon as he stepped onto the stage. But he is a teacher, and Liu Beiran has already expressed his unwillingness to say more, so he naturally has to step out to smooth things over. Okay, since Liu Beiran doesn't want to talk more, don't ask any more questions. We still have a long time to go. Liu Beiran then continued to walk to his seat. When he passed by Xinyao, he noticed from the corner of his eye that she was looking at him with admiration. Liu Beiran pretended not to see it and walked straight to his seat. His face was calm, showing neither joy nor sadness. In this way, the students continued to introduce themselves. There were many handsome men and beautiful women among them. At present, no one was familiar with them. The rest depended on future developments. When everyone had introduced themselves, Counselor Zhang Qianyao said, "Okay, the students now know each other. Next we will select class leaders. Since everyone is not familiar with each other yet, I have decided to hold the selection next week. I will also consider everyone's opinions by then. Everyone is free to move around, get your meal cards and other things done, and then collect your military training uniforms. Military training will officially begin tomorrow morning. Finally, I wish you all to spread your wings at this moment and soar to the sky." When Counselor Zhang Qianyao finished his last sentence, he signaled everyone to move freely and then left the classroom. Liu Beiran took out his cell phone. It was now 9:35 in the morning. This is the end of the freshman orientation. Chapter 23, Thousands of Lights. After the counselor left, the classroom began to become noisy. Some students left the classroom, some greeted each other, and some walked over to the student who had interrupted Liu Beiran when he was speaking. As he spoke, he looked at Liu Beiran, and found that Liu Beiran was also looking at him, so he hurriedly looked away. Liu Beiran was just about to get up when he saw a graceful figure walking towards him. It was Bai Xinyao. Although Bai Xinyao's appearance was not as good as Xu Nianqing or even Xie Yu, she was still outstanding in some aspects. Liu Beiran could see that many classmates in the class had their eyes on her and were probably thinking about how to have a romantic encounter with her. Bai Xinyao walked up to Liu Beiran and said with a smile, "Liu Beiran, do you guys have time this afternoon? I'll treat you to dinner." Liu Beiran knew that the little girl was expressing her gratitude for last night, but he still shook his head. "Do we have anything else to do later? Something's going on? What's the matter?" Bai Xinyao blinked her big, Kazalan eyes. Liu Beiran shrugged, "It's not good for you to know too much." "TSK, I don't want to know," Bai Xinyao said and returned to her seat, but she glanced at Liu Beiran from time to time, pouting with a resentful look on her face. Liu Beiran and Chen Xiaofeng went to the canteen to apply for meal cards. The meal card required a processing fee of 15 yuan. On the first day, there was a problem with the meal card system. Students had to pay for meals, but they would have to swipe their cards in the future. Liu Beiran and his friends each recharged 1,000 yuan, while Lin Jingyao took out a few crumpled banknotes. "Sorry, students. The minimum recharge amount for your meal card is 100 yuan. The cafeteria manager smiled professionally. "Jingyao, I'm not saying anything bad about you." Liu Beiran grabbed Lin Jingyao's hand and stuffed his hand and the banknotes back into his pocket. Lin Jingyao pursed his lips when he heard this, looking a little at a loss. "I told you yesterday that we don't accept tips," Liu Beiran said, looking at the staff and smiled. "Sorry, I'm just like that. I'm rich but I don't like to rent. To put it bluntly, I'm stupid." At this time, Lin Jingyao took out a bank card from his pocket. 1,000 is enough. More is not good," Liu Beiran reminded. The staff member looked at Lin Jingyao, and Lin Jingyao nodded. After leaving their house, Lin Jingyao handed the meal card to Liu Beiran and bowed his head and said, "Thank you, Beiran." Liu Beiran took the bank card and said with a smile, "You have this semester to return it to me, otherwise." At this point, Liu Beiran showed a sly smile. "Don't worry, I will pay you back as soon as possible," Lin Jingyao said immediately. Only then did Liu Beiran nod. Chen Xiaofeng and Jiang Yangbin followed behind them, and soon they also came out of the cafeteria, while Liu Beiran and Lin Jingyao were waiting there. "Let me tell you a joke." As soon as he came out, Chen Xiaofeng said to the two people with a smile, "When I was applying for the card just now, a student in front of me took out a 10 yuan note and handed it to the staff member, saying it was a tip. You didn't see it, but the staff member's face turned green. Har ha har har. Har ha har ha. Lu Beiran also laughed. Lin Jingyao couldn't help but burst out laughing. It was already 10:30 in the morning. Several people went to pick up the military training uniforms that suited their sizes, and then returned to the dormitory. After putting the clothes away, Lu Beiran suggested going to the internet cafe to play a game. Jiang Yangbin and Chen Xiaofeng agreed immediately, but Lin Jingyao said he would not go. It was not because he did not want to, but because he did not know how to play games at all. Come on, I'll teach you. Lu Beiran said to Lin Jingyao with a smile. Lin Jingyao was still a little embarrassed. Hey, Jingyao, why are you acting like a sissy? Come on, come on. After saying that, Jiang Yangbin pulled Lin Jingyao up from the edge of the bed. An hour later, inside the Hero Internet Cafe, outside the commercial college. Fuck, this thresh is cheating. The corridor of the Internet Cafe was filled with Chen Xiaofeng's roar, accompanied by the sound of heavy slamming on the table. Xiaofeng, you're cheating, aren't you? Jiang Yangbin suddenly asked. Chen Xiaofeng was immediately unhappy. Is cheating because I'm good at playing? You really haven't seen the world. No, I mean you turned on the automatic queue connection. As long as you are here, thresh queue will never be missed. Chen Xiaofeng. Hey, Beiran, give me the red. Chen Xiaofeng immediately shouted to Lu Beiran, who was standing beside him. You're a mid-laner, Lux, what the hell do you want with the red buff? Lu Beiran ignored him and directly took the red buff in his own jungle. In my previous life, I often played games in my spare time, and my rank in League of Legends was Diamond 3. Although it was not very high, I could still show off in front of my roommates. In this game, he played ADC, partnering with Lin Jingyao in the bottom lane, Jiang Yangbin in the top lane, and Chen Xiaofeng in the middle lane. 10 minutes had passed in the game, and the head-to-head ratio between the two sides was 9-5. Open the information panel. Brother Chen doesn't he know how to be low-key, 080. Fuck. Chen Xiaofeng smashed the keyboard, what a crappy computer. Although his voice was powerful, the decibel was not loud. He glanced at the door and found that the network administrator did not notice him, so he felt relieved. If it were the one I have at home, it would have been pushed up to the ground. And this table, the one I have at home, was measured with a ruler, it's so rough. Chen Xiaofeng felt helpless. They had lunch in an internet cafe, with instant noodles and sausage. Chen Xiaofeng even added a pack of vegetarian steak. After lunch, they continued to fight in Summoner's Rift. Time passed slowly with the sound of keyboard tapping, and when I came out of the internet cafe, it was already 5:30 in the afternoon. Several people returned to the business school and went to the cafeteria to eat. Lu Beiran was holding his phone and chatting with Xun Yanqing. He didn't go to see Xun Yanqing, not because Xun Yanqing told him to go over on the weekend, and if he obeyed, he would not be himself. He knew Xun Yanqing's feelings for him, but the saying that distance creates beauty is not groundless. No one is perfect, and no matter how beautiful the relationship is, friction will arise as time goes by. Just like love, it will eventually turn into family affection. Therefore, every perfect encounter requires sufficient preparation before separation. It was lunchtime, the cafeteria was bustling with people, and the variety of dishes was much greater than on the first day. Several people swiped their cards to order their meals, and then found a table and sat opposite each other. While eating, Chen Xiaofeng and Jiang Yanbin's eyes were wandering. Chen Xiaofeng smiled and nodded from time to time, as if he had met an old friend whom he had not seen for a long time. After dinner, Chen Xiaofeng suggested taking a walk in the artificial lake to help digestion. Jiang Yangbin nodded in agreement. He thought this was a very good suggestion. Lu Beiran also nodded, and at the same time praised Mr. Chen for caring about his roommates, which made the man silent and the woman cry. Lin Jingyao followed behind with his head down. At this time, the sky was gradually getting dark, the bright moon was hanging in the sky, and groups of students were walking by the lake. The autumn wind blew, rolling up a few strands of hair on Lu Beiran's forehead. He looked around and saw that the lights of the tall buildings were on. Chapter 24: Chen Xiaofeng's fantastic operation. As the sun set, the sky darkened completely. Looking up, it seemed as if it was covered with a layer of black ink, thick and distant. The moon was still hanging high, and a few stars sporadically climbed out. There are several sycamore trees standing beside the artificial lake, and their leaves have turned yellow-brown. When the wind blows, leaves occasionally fall from the trees, and then dart in the air like a butterfly that has lost its way. The surroundings were bustling with students. The freshman meeting was over and many classmates had already gotten to know each other. The summer heat of this season had gradually dissipated and the night breeze brought the coolness of autumn. Beiran and his companions took a leisurely stroll, stopping from time to time. Chen Xiaofeng and Jiang Yanbin's eyes kept wandering, like hawks looking for prey. Most girls in this period began to learn how to put on makeup and dress more boldly. Suspender skirts, long legs and legs in stockings could be seen everywhere. After walking around for a while, Beiran felt a little bored. Chen Xiaofeng and Jiang Yangbin were still watching attentively, while Lin Jingyao followed silently. "I'm going back. I have something to do later," Beiran said. Are you going back so soon?" Chen Xiaofeng felt a little unsatisfied. Beiran patted his shoulder and said, "Xiaofeng, there is still a long way to go. This is just the beginning. It's yours and you can't run away." "That makes sense." Chen Xiaofeng nodded. So they returned to the dormitory. After returning to the dormitory, Beiran held his mobile phone and chatted with Xu Nianqing. Xu Nianqing told him some interesting stories about Xiangnan University. After the chat, Beiran turned on the computer and prepared to write. After a period of rapid updates, the domineering female Lord Falls in Love with Me has climbed to the second place in the overall ranking. The improved performance also means an increase in royalties, so Beiran is naturally happy. So I rewarded myself with another 10,000 words. Chen Xiaofeng and Jiang Yangbin didn't have any opinion on Beiran writing novels, maybe they didn't have this concept in their minds. Lin Jingyao was a little interested, he was a loyal novel lover, but watching Beiran clacking on the keyboard, he didn't go up to disturb him. When Beiran finished typing, it was already late at night. Beiran typed "good night" on his phone and clicked send, which also meant the end of the day. The next morning, several people went to the classroom wearing military training uniforms. After Chancellor Zhang Qianyao called the roll, the students went to the cafeteria to have breakfast first, and then returned to the classroom to prepare for military training. Military training in high school usually lasts for a week, while in college it is about 15 days, and some higher education institutions may even last longer. Led by Chancellor Zhang Qianyao, the Economics 2 class lined up in an orderly manner and entered the playground. At this time, the playground had already gathered a large group of students, and the instructors were already waiting there. The instructor of Economics Class 2 is a little special. She is surrounded by hot-blooded men, but they have a female instructor. The female instructor was about 1.7 meters tall, wearing a military uniform and a ponytail. Although her skin was a little tanned, it did not affect her heroic temperament. When the students lined up, Chancellor Zhang Qianyao spoke a few words to the female instructor and said that he would leave the students to her and that they could contact him if they had any questions. After the chancellor left, the female instructor walked up to the students and glanced around with a sharp gaze. Many students chose to look at her, but they quickly gave in and hurriedly looked away. When she looked at Beiran, he calmly looked back at her. After a few seconds of staring at Beiran, the female instructor shouted, "Hello, students. I am your instructor Su Jing. I will lead your military training for the next half month. Please feel free to ask any questions you have." Su Jing's voice was high and vaguely majestic, and some students began to feel oppressed. This is the result of experience in the army. "Okay, during the military training, if anyone feels unwell, please let me know. I declare that the military training officially begins." As soon as he finished speaking, Su Jing cleared his throat and began to organize the team. The students had experienced military training in high school and were not unfamiliar with these military ceremonies. At this moment, they all followed Su Jing's rhythm. Su Jing would directly remind those who were a little lazy. An hour has passed in a flash, from the rising sun in the early morning to the bright sunshine now. At this time, the students were already sweating, and some of them were unable to keep up with the pace due to lack of physical strength. However, Su Jing was still standing in the front, shouting slogans with an expressionless face, seemingly not feeling tired. Beiran followed Su Jing's slogan and glanced at his classmates, finding that most of them looked tired. But when his eyes rested on a tall girl, he found that her clothes were soaked with sweat, with a large water stain on her back and her hair stuck to her forehead, but her complexion remained the same as when he first saw her, without any change. "Summer you. Liu Beiran remembered this name. This girl seemed unable to smile, and her cold temperament gave off a feeling of keeping strangers away. At this moment, there was a loud bang and a commotion around. Liu Beiran looked up and found that Chen Xiaofeng was lying on the ground. Su Jing was surprised when she saw this. She quickly stepped forward, walked to Chen Xiaofeng, squatted down, held the back of his head and asked, "Classmate, how is it?" Chen Xiaofeng snuggled in Su Jing's arms and shook his head slightly. "Instructor Su, I'm fine. I'm really sorry for delaying your military training." Their voice was pale. "Instructor Su, I'm his roommate. Let me take him to the dormitory to rest." Liu Beiran raised his hand and shouted. Su Jing nodded. Liu Beiran supported Chen Xiaofeng as they walked towards the dormitory building. Chen Xiaofeng looked very weak and staggered from time to time, so Liu Beiran quickly picked him up. Behind me, there were envious eyes of my classmates. When they arrived at the dormitory building, the dorm manager was watching TV in the room. Liu Beiran took a glance and saw that it was the popular TV series, The Legend of Zhenhuan. Seeing Liu Beiran and the other two, the dormitory manager asked with concern, "Student, what's wrong? Do you want to go to the infirmary?" Liu Beiran smiled and waved his hand. "Auntie, we have been to the infirmary. The school doctor said it was heat stroke. Let him have a good rest and he will be fine." Only then did the dormitory manager feel relieved. The two walked with heavy steps all their way to the 5th floor, and then walked into dormitory 506 with familiarity. As soon as he entered the door, Liu Beiran slammed the door shut with his foot, throwing Chen Xiaofeng aside. "Xiaofeng, why the hell are you so heavy?" Chen Xiaofeng changed his previous tired look, a strong smile appeared on his face, and said, "Beiran, the art of war is all about deception. Just tell me if you are good or not." After saying that, he raised an eyebrow at Liu Beiran. Liu Beiran knew Chen Xiaofeng's cunning mind at the first sight on the playground. He did not respond to his words, but stretched out his hand and made a two bottles of Red Bull. "No problem." Chen Xiaofeng agreed with a smile. He was originally thinking about going to the infirmary to go through a series of interrogations. When he fell down, he was already organizing his words. He didn't expect that his roommate was so helpful that he didn't even need to perform. Looking at Liu Beiran sitting beside the bed, Chen Xiaofeng found this roommate more and more pleasing to the eye. Chapter 25, Arrogant Youth. Liu Beiran stood up, drank some water, turned on the ceiling fan, took off his clothes, put them under the fan to let them blow, revealing his muscular upper body. He took out his cell phone and opened the chat interface of Counselor Zhang Qianyao. "Teacher Zhang, Chen Xiaofeng has heat stroke. I'll take him back to the dormitory to rest and report to you." Not long after, Counselor Zhang Qianyao replied. "Okay, is everything okay?" Liu Beiran then poured himself a glass of purified water, drank half of it, and then walked to Chen Xiaofeng and placed the glass on the table next to him. Chen Xiaofeng looked puzzled at first, but when Liu Beiran shook his phone, he immediately understood and showed a weak expression. Liu Beiran raised his phone, took a photo, and sent it to his counselor Zhang Qianyao. "Teacher Zhang, you can still talk. Just take a rest." Zhang Qianyao, "Okay, contact me if you have anything." The fan on the ceiling of the dormitory was whirring, and Liu Beiran returned to his bed and closed his eyes. Chen Xiaofeng lay on the bed, patting his round belly with his hands, closing his eyes and taking a nap, looking very relaxed. The years are quiet and good. Ding ling ling. When the alarm rang, half an hour had passed. Liu Beiran slowly got up, and Chen Xiaofeng beside him was already snoring loudly, entering a deep sleep. Liu Beiran went to the bathroom and washed his face with water, wetting a large area of his hair and clothes. Then he went downstairs, thump thump, walked out of the dormitory building, and started to sprint with all his strength. When he arrived at the military training location of Economics Class 2 on the playground, the students were still following Su Jing's slogans. Liu Beiran ran to Su Jing, hurriedly stopped, straightened his collar and hat that had been misplaced while running, and saluted with a standard military salute. "Report." Su Jing nodded, "Return to the team." The voice was softer than before. When Liu Beiran returned to the team, Su Jing looked at his watch and announced that everyone should take a 15-minute break. Some students sat down on the spot immediately, some ran to the shade and lay down, and some went to the canteen to buy water. Liu Beiran, Jiang Yangbin and Lin Jingyao met up and went to the convenience store together. Both of them had red cheeks and their clothes were soaked. Xiaofeng's physical fitness is too poor. Jiang Yangbin shook his head. Lin Jingyao asked with concern, is Xiaofeng okay? Liu Beiran smiled and said, warfare is the art of deception. What do you mean? Jiang Yangbin looked puzzled. Liu Beiran showed a playful smile. The few of them walked to the canteen. Jiang Yangbin generously treated them to some Red Bull, and Liu Beiran took out 3 boxes of mineral water. After drinking Red Bull, the 3 of them each carried a box and walked towards the playground. Beiran, why did you buy so much water? Are you going to treat them to some? Jiang Yangbin asked. Yes, we are all classmates, we should help each other. Liu Beiran responded with a smile. Arriving at the playground, Liu Beiran distributed mineral water to the students. Although many students were puzzled, they all expressed their gratitude politely. Xie Yu sat there, looking ahead with a calm expression, his eyes blurred, and no one knew what he was thinking. Until a bottle of mineral water appeared in front of him. Thank you. Xie Yu took the water and said lightly. Liu Beiran waved his hand, indicating that he didn't need to worry about it. He handed a bottle to Su Jing as well. Su Jing was still hesitant at first, but Liu Beiran said immediately, Coach Su, it's so hot, and you're helping us with military training. It must be very hard. This is a little gift from our economics class too. Please accept it. Su Jing heard this and looked around. After finding that each student had a bottle of water, she took it. Thank you, Liu Beiran. Liu Beiran was not surprised that Su Jing knew his name. The counselor was sure that he had given her the list, but generally people didn't care too much, as long as everyone trained hard. After the break, Su Jing gathered everyone together and continued training. During the training, a classmate suddenly shouted behind him, "UF King stepped on my foot." The classmate behind him was also an impatient person. His face immediately turned red and he punched him. The 2 men wrestled with each other. The students began to make a commotion, and Su Jing frowned and was about to step forward. At this moment, a figure ran over first. Liu Beiran separated the 2 with his strong physique and shouted, "How are we going to get along with classmates in the future if they are fighting?" One of the students said, "I just said he stepped on me and this guy started to attack me." Liu Beiran remembered that his name was Li Linbo. The other one was called Xiaolong. Xiaolong also had a bad temper and yelled, "UF King scolded me, so what's wrong with me hitting you?" At this time, Su Jing also rushed over. She first glanced at Liu Beiran, who separated the 2, then looked at Li Linbo and Xiaolong, and said in a clear voice, "You dare to fight during military training? Do you really think I don't exist?" Li Linbo blushed and said nothing, while Xiaolong yelled, "If he scolds me again, I will beat him again. You 2, get out of line." Su Jing shouted immediately. Li Linbo walked out first, while Xiaolong remained standing there. Liu Beiran pushed his back. Xiaolong glanced at Liu Beiran, then remembered the bottle of mineral water he had just given him, and then he took a step forward angrily. After the 2 of them left the line, Liu Beiran returned to his original position. Su Jing didn't show any panic on her face about this situation. Young people are prone to impulsiveness, and this kind of thing is not uncommon in his coaching career. She had just observed that Liu Beiran separated the 2 of them in a timely manner, leaving no wounds. The next step is to let them suffer the consequences. The 2 men stood side by side, both with red faces. Li Linbo lowered his head, and Xiaolong turned his head to the side. Su Jing stared at Xiaolong and said, "You don't seem convinced." Xiaolong looked up at Su Jing and pursed his lips, "I just don't accept it. It was obviously him who scolded first. Then you should just take action." Su Jing asked back. Xiaolong was somewhat speechless. He was impulsive and didn't even take the instructor seriously. But the instructor was a girl, so he couldn't get angry either. He felt helpless because he had no place to put his strength. Thinking of this, his hatred for Li Linbo deepened. "Do 50 push-ups, do it now." Su Jing shouted. She was going to make an example of someone to scare the monkeys. This was a very routine operation. Li Linbo bent down first and started doing it. Xiaolong still stood there, unmoved. "What's wrong? Do you still need my help?" Su Jing asked. Xiaolong looked at Li Linbo, who was doing push-ups beside him, then looked at Su Jing, then gritted his teeth, bent down and started doing them. After the 2 finished, Su Jing asked them to return to the team, and then shouted to the students, "Next time this happens, do 100. Seeing this scene, Beiran's mouth curled up slightly. Students at this age have not yet experienced the harshness of society. They are full of vigor and vitality and are not familiar with each other. It is normal for them to quarrel and fight. This is youth. Chapter 26. Everyone, charge with me. As the two men accepted their punishment, the fast came to a temporary end and the military training continued in an orderly manner. At noon, Beiran and a few others went to the cafeteria to eat. When they arrived at the cafeteria door, Chen Xiefeng was already waiting there. Chen Xiefeng was wearing casual clothes, a pair of sunglasses, and drinking a glass of watermelon juice. When he saw the few people, he immediately walked up to them with a smile. "Fuck, aren't you suffering from heat stroke?" Jiang Yangbin asked. "Yes, I am a patient now." Chen Xiefeng glanced at the huge group of students around him and said with a smile, "But physical injuries will not affect my determination to appreciate beauty. It's so fucking disgusting." Jiang Yangbin suddenly exclaimed. Several people entered the cafeteria together and lined up to get food. The food in the cafeteria today was quite good, with various categories for students to choose from. Beiran ordered a portion of spicy beef, a portion of shredded chicken and a portion of cabbage. A few people found seats, and just as they sat down, several familiar figures walked over. "Let's share a seat," Bai Xinyao said with a smile, holding the food tray. Beiran looked up, but before he could say anything, Chen Xiefeng patted the seat beside him and said with a smile, "Come on, welcome, welcome." Bai Xinyao glanced at Beiran and found that he just continued to eat with a blank expression, so she curled her lips. Then she looked at the seat next to Beiran and found that Lin Jingyao was already sitting there, so she had no choice but to sit next to Chen Xiefeng. Liu Lingling and Kui Li also came with her. At this time, Chen Xiefeng asked, "Hey, aren't there 4 people in your dormitory? Where is the other one?" "There is another one that isn't coming. She doesn't seem willing to play with us," Bai Xinyao responded. "Oh? There's such a thing? Who is she?" Jiang Yangbin asked 3 soul-searching questions. "It's Xie Yu," Bai Xinyao said with a smile. "She usually just greets us and then studies. She doesn't participate in any group activities." "It's her. That's such a pity." Jiang Yangbin felt a little regretful. Everyone must be familiar with Xie Yu. Many classmates have already regarded her as the class beauty in their hearts, but her cold and aloof temperament that keeps strangers away really makes them dare not approach her and talk to her. While eating, Bai Xinyao glanced at Beiran from time to time, but Beiran just focused on eating. She pouted again, seeming a little unhappy. "Student Bai Xinyao, what's wrong with you?" Chen Xiefeng asked with a smile, "Is the food not to your taste? I'll go get you another portion." Bai Xinyao shook her head, "I'm fine." After saying this, he lowered his head and started eating without paying attention to his eating manners. Beiran knew what he was thinking. Although Bai Xinyao was not bad looking, he now had a girlfriend like Xu Nianqing, so naturally he looked down on her. Thinking of this, Beiran really missed this little girl. In his previous life, he had a lot of experience in love, so he naturally wouldn't fall in love easily, and he wouldn't miss her so much after not seeing her for a day. But obviously, Xu Nianqing had already occupied a place in his heart. Ding-ling. The cell phone rang. Beiran took out his cell phone from his pocket, and it was a message from Xu Nianqing. "Pig, military training is so tiring. What are you doing?" Beiran immediately opened the camera, took a photo of the plate, and clicked send. "Picture every grain of rice represents my longing for you, so I eat them all, so that you are in my heart. Xu Nianqing, TSK, here you are again. Xu Nianqing, pig, I miss you. Beiran, be good, I'll come see you this weekend and we'll go to Star City for a good stroll. Xu Nianqing, okay, I'm going to Metro Mall. I heard it's the largest mall in Star City and there are a lot of things there. Beiran, as you wish, my princess. Hey, Beiran, why are you holding your phone? Chen Xiefeng narrowed his eyes slightly. Is there something wrong? Snap. The sound of chopsticks falling was heard. Bai Xinyao was stunned for a moment, then quickly picked up the chopsticks, curled her lips, and continued to eat. Beiran smiled and said, "Yeah, I forgot to tell you that my child is 5 years old." TSK, I don't believe you. Chen Xiaofeng snorted, which girl would be interested in you if you stay in the dormitory and type on the keyboard every day? You should learn from me and go out and see more. This world is a beautiful place. Hearing this, Bai Xinyao put down her chopsticks, and 2 seconds later, she continued eating. Liu Beiran just laughed off Chen Xiaofeng's preaching. Kui Li is not very talkative, but Liu Lingling is more cheerful. Chen Xiaofeng also realizes this and tells a few jokes from time to make the little girl laugh. Jiang Yangbin looked at the eloquent Chen Xiaofeng and scratched his head anxiously, while Lin Jingyao was reading a novel on his mobile phone without saying a word. There was a 2-hour lunch break at noon, and after eating, everyone went back to their dormitories. As soon as he returned to the dormitory, Chen Xiaofeng said, "I figured it out." "What have you figured out?" Jiang Yangbin asked. "I'm ready to change my target," said Chen Xiaofeng. "Liu Lingling?" Liu Beiran asked. "Fuck, Beiran, how did you know?" Chen Xiaofeng looked surprised. Liu Beiran smiled and said, "That's all you have in mind? Do you still want to hide it from me?" "I just observed her carefully. Liu Lingling is actually very pretty. I think she is no worse than Bai Xinyao." At this point, Chen Xiaofeng closed his eyes and smiled, revealing a perverted look. Her baby face is really something that makes people want to take good care of her. "You are so disgusting," Jiang Yangbin said disdainfully. "You know shit, Yangbin. You're lucky your family has some rich money, otherwise you wouldn't be able to find a wife in our city," Chen Xiaofeng said sarcastically. "That's better than being a bootlicker," Jiang Yangbin retorted. All right, let us go to sleep. Dreams can hold all kinds of possibilities." Liu Beiran interrupted the two. The bickering between the two seemed to have become a daily routine. As Liu Beiran spoke, the two turned their heads and snorted at each other, then climbed onto their beds to take a nap. As the music started, several people slowly got up, all looking as if they were still sleepy. "This is so fucking annoying. I'll hire some men in black to go to the radio room and smash this player." Chen Xiaofeng was a little grumpy after waking up, so they simply washed their faces and headed to the military training site on the playground. Instructor Su Jing had been waiting here for a long time. Once the students arrived one after another, she began to form a team. The content of Su Jing's military training in the morning was basically some troop leading ceremonies, and the location was limited to this area. Some students were secretly rejoicing, thinking that this instructor was considerate of them and was worthy of being a gentle and beautiful instructor. Liu Beiran knew that this was their newbie protection period. Su Jing could become an instructor just because she was a daughter, so she naturally had her own personality and methods. He had already discovered that things would not be that simple at this time. Sure enough, after organizing the team, Su Jing shouted, "Everyone has finished lunch and had a nap. I believe everyone is in good spirits now. It's coming. Chen Xiaofeng is really a man of foresight." When Liu Beiran was considering whether to faint, he heard Su Jing shout, "Everyone, follow me and run around the playground 5 times.